Chapter 471. Thunder Tribulation Benefits. During the powerful Thunder Tribulation, even Yang Chen's body was destroyed several times, not to mention his clothes. Fortunately, the merit ring was strong enough to not be damaged in this degree of tribulation, otherwise Yang Chen would not even be able to find a robe that covered his body. The naked Yang Chen was watched by all the girls, but even if the girls had a higher level of cultivation, they were still big girls who had never seen such a battle before, and they all made a big red face. It wasn't until Yang Chen put on his robe that he turned back blushing. Bao Yu's shyness quickly turned into worry, and she flew forward and fumbled a few times on Yang Chen, only to stop when she was sure that Yang Chen was already a Yuning stage master and was safe and sound. Coldly, Gao Yu was about to take back her hand, and Yang Chen grabbed it. Gao Yu struggled twice, but didn't break free. She blushed and her head drooped, she didn't dare to look at the other three women. Zhanxian looked at Yang Chen's safety, the joy in her eyes flashed, but her face still had that cold expression. Sun Qingxu was very happy, especially when she watched Yang Chen grasp Gao Yu's hand, she seemed to be very envious and took the initiative to step forward and put her little hand into Yang Chen's hand. "We were really scared to death just now." Sun Qingxu patted her chest with the other hand and said with lingering fear, "What the hell is going on, how could the Thunder Tribulation become like this?" Sun Qingxu's question was also what the other three girls wanted to ask. It's just that no one was as straightforward as Sun Qingxu. Among the four girls, Sun Qingxu was the youngest and she was the first to get to know Yang Chen, so she seemed right to speak. "I don't know either." Yang Chen gave a wry smile, still feeling the lingering fear of the terrifying Thunder Tribulation. Now that he thought about it, it was really close. If any one of the conditions was not met, today he would have died without a burial place. Whether it's that the spiritual awareness couldn't reach the human immortal realm, or that there wasn't many true essence spiritual solutions to provide instant massive spirit power, or even if there was no bloody river and white dragon sitting in the sea of consciousness, it may have resulted in his death. He just got married and the four beautiful ladies couldn't bear such a situation. Thinking of this, Yang Chen couldn't help but sweep across the faces of the four women around him. The fiery gaze made the four women feel a little overwhelmed. Except for Zhanxian, the other three women lowered their heads slightly. Suddenly, Zhanxian, who had been stubborn, didn't know what she was thinking of, her face suddenly turned red and she gave Yang Chen a fierce look, then dropped, she didn't dare to look at Yang Chen again. Yang Chen looked at it inexplicably, but didn't know what Zhanxian was thinking of, so he could only shake his head slightly, then gently pulled the two women in her hands and said, "Let's go back and celebrate, this is a big day." While talking, their bodies had sunk underwater. At this time, the Dragon Palace treasure house was the best place to celebrate and the four women followed Yang Chen's movements and disappeared into the water. However, when he was about to completely enter the water, Yang Chen suddenly turned his head and glanced in a certain direction, frowning slightly, as if there was something he couldn't figure out. But immediately Yang Chen returned to normal and returned to the Dragon Palace treasure house, with the four women swaggering. Everyone took turns to fight the tribulation, especially when Yang Chen was facing the tribulation, it was so dangerous and everyone's heart was raised into their throat, so no one had time to carefully investigate the changes in their body. Now that they had returned to a safe place, they naturally had to look at their bodies first. The first thing that they did when they went back, the four women sat cross-legged and then explored, Yang Chen was no exception. He also wanted to know how his body has changed after experiencing such a dangerous thunder tribulation. The most obvious thing was naturally the change of spirit power. After becoming a Yuning stage master, both the amount of spirit power and the manipulation of spirit power have been raised to a large level. The difference between the Yuning stage and Jidan stage was that the Yuning stage has more spirit power than Jidan stage, so it was naturally very different. Of course, from the Jidan stage to the Yuning stage, there was such a change, which was not surprising. But Yang Chen's was different. He has 10 nascent souls, which was completely different from one of others, and they were still distributed in two parts of the Danshan. Same as the original gold core and the yin-yang 5 elements occupy a part respectively. The spirit power alone was 10 times stronger than others, not to mention the 5 elements' mutual growth and mutual restraint. But this was where Yang Chen cared the least. What he wanted to know the most was what happened to his body after being destroyed by the Thunder Tribulation and then reborn. Spirit power circulated within the body without any obstacles at all, it was smooth and round, as if it had been integrated with the body, regardless of each other. But this was also normal, it seemed that the current new body was shaped with a massive amount of original spirit power, and it was expected to fit into the spirit power. But the change in physical strength made Yang Chen really startled. Compared with the mortal body before, this body was no less than 100 times stronger. Ordinary flying swords may not be able to pierce it, let alone the changes in strength. Yang Chen didn't need to try to know that his body had already reached the river, turning strength peak middle stage. Wanting to cultivate from the early stage to the middle stage in normal circumstances, it would take at least thousands of years of painstaking effort for those in the immortal world. Unexpectedly, in the mortal world, it would be achieved within a mere 200 years. However, there would be no such good things in the future. Every time the body was transformed by the heavenly tribulation, the difficulty of cultivating the yellow turban warrior body refining technique increased by a few points, which Yang Chen had expected. In addition to strength, resilience, bone strength, etc., there were extremely significant changes, and Yang Chen had a profound memory of the tribulation. In his impression, the changes in his body after the thunder tribulation simply cannot reach such a level unless he has passed the yin fire tribulation and entered the daching stage. Would there be such a degree of change? Unusual tribulation, unusual physical changes. Yang Chen could only attribute these unusual things to this extraordinary tribulation. But what kind of tribulation Yang Chen experienced? Yang Chen was still at a loss and has no memory of it. After thinking about it, Yang Chen chose to forget about it. In any case, Yang Chen has already been promoted to the Yuning stage, and there was a long path of cultivation in front of him, so he does not need to look for things that have no foundation. Compared with the changes in his body, the changes in his sea of consciousness were quite surprising. It was simple to say that the first-grade human immortal stage was promoted to the second-grade human immortal stage, but Yang Chen knew that this simple promotion takes longer than cultivating from the early daching stage to the middle daching stage. Not to mention the changes in the condensed level of the sea of consciousness. Even if someone bombarded Yang Chen with a magic weapon comparable to Yang Chen's golden bell, it would not have any effect on Yang Chen. The strange thing was that the scope of the sea of consciousness had not expanded, it was still the same size. But the intensity of the sea of consciousness has increased by so much. It was the first time that Yang Chen had encountered a thunder tribulation that could directly target the sea of consciousness. He had never heard of it before now. The biggest change was actually those magic weapons that Yang Chen tempered in the sea of consciousness. The advantages brought to the magic weapons were numerous. After the thunder tribulation's fragmentation and reorganization, all the yin-yang 5 elements flying swords except for the immortal beheading blade seemed to have been sacrificially refined by the thunder tribulation again. By observing in the sea of consciousness, he could easily discover the changes. Some small flaws that could not be solved because of his insufficient cultivation base seemed to have been completely compensated by the thunder tribulation and no longer existed. Of course, there would be some flaws, but that was something that could only be eradicated through years and years of tempering. No matter how powerful the thunder tribulation was, it cannot be changed. It's a pity that because Yang Chen didn't want to use magic weapons to face the tribulation and hoped to rely solely on his body to resist the thunder tribulation, some powerful magic weapons such as the golden bell did not get additional benefits. But this was not a major problem anyway. After Yang Chen's cultivation base was upgraded, he would naturally slowly refine and upgrade it. There was the Heavenly Spirit Treasure Refining Secret Art and Earth Fiend Sacrificial Formation Secret Art, plus the Universe Nourishing Treasure Secret Art. As long as his skill was deep, even ordinary magic weapons could be turned into treasures. Speaking of the Heavenly Spirit Treasure Refining Secret Art and Earth Fiend Sacrificial Formation Secret Art, the Profound Spirit Furnace has been refined to the 10th heavenly level and the 20th earthly level. Yang Chen's current yin-yang 5-element spiritual power was divided into every subdivided spiritual force. 30 of the species have been lit up, and their power was almost 10 times more than ordinary spiritual power. It's a pity that the heaven measuring ruler was not in his hand now, but in the hands of Elder Gaoxian, Gongsun master, to measure his spiritual power level in order to attack the daching stage. Otherwise, the measuring ruler could most intuitively show Yang Chen's combat effectiveness. When Yang Chen finished checking his body, the 4 women had basically completed their own tests, and all of them were full of joy. Sun Qingxu seemed to want to share her joy with Yang Chen, rushing to tell him her changes. The first wood true essence has transformed into spirit power, but the others have not changed much, but her spiritual awareness has increased to the peak Yuning stage. It seemed that only one step was needed to break through this bottleneck and enter the daching stage. Big brother Yang, ah no, husband, let's do the spiritual awareness dual cultivation together once, maybe I can break through immediately. After Sun Qingxu finished talking about her situation, she directly said to Yang Chen, making the women shocked. This was not over yet. After Sun Qingxu finished speaking at this time, she suddenly thought of something and cried out in surprise, hey, we have reached the Yuning stage and we can join husband for dual cultivation. As soon as Sun Qingxu said this, the other 3 women made a big blush for a while, lowered their heads, and no one dared to look at Yang Chen. Only then did Sun Qingxu realize her shyness and she screamed, hurriedly covered her small face with her hands, and dared not lift it up. Only then did Yang Chen remember that promotion to Yuning stage still had this benefit. Immediately he remembered that Zhanxian was inexplicably shy when they were outside. Did she also think of this problem? The embarrassing topic made the four women very shy, but soon everyone recovered. What were they afraid of? They have been married, so what was there to be embarrassed about if they were a married couple having dual education? Human relations matters, it was even unavoidable in the immortal world. Doesn't the Jade Emperor also have a queen mother? That's good. Yang Chen watched the four women raise their heads separately to look at him. Yang Chen nodded and praised at any time. Don't let some trivial things affect your Tao heart, it's not worth it. Although Yang Chen's words were a bit preaching, the four women all bowed and saluted Yang Chen slightly and said in unison, "Yes, husband." Looking at the four beautiful women, Yang Chen suddenly felt an unspeakable sense of accomplishment. Marrying these four women at the same time and putting was probably something that even the Jade Emperor at the time could not even imagine. Was there anything more that could make Yang Chen proud? Except for Sun Qingxu, the spiritual awareness of the other three females were all on the verge of breaking through. Of course, Yang Chen would not refuse to help them and immediately started cultivating with the four women in the treasure house. The highest mystery Yin-Yang Heart Sutra was truly extraordinary. Yang Chen's spiritual awareness had already broken through the second stage of the human immortal stage. Only one spiritual awareness double cultivation allowed the four girls to break through their bottleneck and their spiritual awareness reached the early daching stage. All of them were new to the Yuning stage and their cultivation bases needed to be consolidated. Under such circumstances, the best way to consolidate the cultivation bases was to have dual cultivation. The origin of this cultivation method is difficult to explain, so don't go into it. Yang Chen couldn't explain to the women the origin of the dual cultivation method he gave them and simply told them not to pursue it. The four women were mentally prepared for the mystery from Yang Chen. Since Yang Chen said so, they certainly agreed. Seeing the four wives saying yes, husband. To himself, Yang Chen felt an indescribable sense of accomplishment. However, it was said that they would not be held accountable, but when they carefully studied this double cultivation method, it still surprised the four women. It stands to reason that they were already rare in this mortal world with excellent comprehension abilities, and they could comprehend that they were inseparable after almost obtaining the cultivation methods of the sect. There were still many places in this cultivation method that cannot be understood. Yang Chen was not surprised at all. The top double cultivation technique of the immortal world was placed in the mortal world. If the four women could see through the mystery at a glance, it would be called the top technique in vain. Therefore, Yang Chen did his part and acted as a guide again, from beginning to end, explaining the content of the cultivation method and at the same time, how to cultivate it with their current cultivation base and where to pay attention to the most. Although Yang Chen's explanations inevitably mentioned some things between husband and wife in some places, the women also knew the importance, even if they were red-faced, they listened to them without missing a word, for fear of missing something. Everyone was extremely clever and they could see many things from this dual cultivation method. Especially the content of Yang Chen's explanation made the women vaguely understand that his duties as a husband was far from being as simple as it was now. This point could be seen from the incredible heavenly tribulation. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 472. Delayed Wedding Festivities. While Yang Chen explained to his four wives the mystery of the dual cultivation method, Li Lihing, the young master of the greatest heaven sect, was also telling the sect master and several other core elders how he felt before being unconscious. In Li Lihing's memory, before he was unconscious, he seemed to be in a world of lightning and thunder, everywhere being destroyed and shattered. Everything around was something he had never seen before. Especially the scene that he saw at the last moment before he fell into the coma, a living white dragon swallowed him before he was crushed by thunder and lightning. The voice of that familiar predecessor would not be forgotten for the rest of his life. Let you improve your cultivation base. Sect Master Mi chewed the message passed by the senior. Li Lihing explained everything carefully, without missing a word, so the last half sentence left by the predecessor was really worthy of pondering. I have many. What does this mean? What was there? Cultivation methods? Or was it experience? The predecessor didn't finish speaking, but the meaning expressed was really exciting. If it were just Li Lihing's words, it might not be so important to Sect Master Li and the several other core elders. However, the situation at the time was that the small courtyard where Li Lihing, the young sect master of the greatest heaven sect lived, seemed to have suffered a tribulation. Except for Li Lihing, everyone else, everything, was turned into powder. Within a radius of 20 feet, apart from Li Lihing, there was no living thing left. The most weird thing was that even the few daching stage elders who were hundreds of meters away were exchanging their cultivation experience. Did he notice any trace of spiritual power raging? On the contrary, they felt a tyrannical spiritual awareness sweeping over the mortal world, and several of their Zhanxian stage elders almost fell to the ground under the sudden spiritual awareness pressure. The courtyard of the young sect master was of course arranged in the core area. Because of this, the fleeting and overbearing spiritual awareness was also noticed by all the masters within a few hundred meters. It was a pity that the Zhanxian stage masters almost fell to their knees in fright. Those ordinary Yuning stage masters made a fool of themselves on the spot. In just an instant, more than a dozen people were shocked and the rest stayed in place. It took a long time to return to normal. Li Liheng, a younger generation in the Zhanxian stage, even if the greatest heaven sect brought out all their resources to help him, he couldn't make several Zhanxian stage elders to feel like this, nor could he scare others in this area in this way. What's more, Li Liheng had no possibility of cheating at all. Many elders, including the sect master, had personally experienced that moment, and after regaining their sanity, everyone guessed that there was only one explanation. The predecessor who emitted the spiritual awareness was definitely not a master in this mortal world. Of course, only the sect master and a few core elders came to this conclusion, and all the others were kept in the dark. This big event that happened inside the greatest heaven sect, which was almost like a small tribulation, completely attracted the attention of all the high levels. Those high-level people who didn't know the reason also sensed an extraordinary aura from it. The whole thing was suppressed by the strongest orders from the top. All the disciples who knew about this situation made a hard oath never to spread it, and discussion about it was prohibited. The incident happened hastily, and the sect master did not even have the most basic explanation, so he hurriedly issued such an order. Many ordinary elders were vaguely aware that perhaps the young sect master Li Liheng was not the illegitimate son of the sect master Li as everyone has guessed. The reason why the top leaders value Li Liheng so much was absolutely related to this matter. Suddenly, many people looked at Li Liheng with admiration and no longer dared to say anything ill of him behind his back as before, nor dared to guess privately. They all waited in awe to see what kind of surprise the young sect master would bring in the future. That unknown senior asked Li Liheng to improve his cultivation level. No one had misunderstood this requirement. All insiders agreed that what the senior wanted Li Liheng to promote was definitely the cultivation base of his spiritual awareness. At this moment, the greatest heaven sect senior executives suddenly became embarrassed. If they wanted to improve his spiritual awareness cultivation base, the first prerequisite was to solve the trouble of Li Liheng's unprovoked comas at every turn. And to solve this trouble, they must use the spirit congealing pills. This was where the embarrassment lies. Although the greatest heaven sect has already spent a lot of effort to exchange the 7th grade fire seed with Yang Chen for the pill recipe, the masters of the medicinal hall also unanimously believed that the pill recipe was real, and Yang Chen also made a hard oath. This pill recipe was real, but it happened that the pill recipe was in hand and the medicinal materials were in hand, but the spirit congealing pill could not be refined. Yang Chen has been in seclusion for 18 years. In addition to the previous years of research, dozens of masters in the greatest heaven sect's medicinal hall have studied the refining method of this spirit congealing pill for more than 20 years. The result made the senior management almost vomit blood. They got almost nothing. What was the purpose of purchasing the pill recipe? Was it not just to get rid of their dependence on Yang Chen? But now the whole thing went around in a big circle, and the high level of the greatest heaven sect reluctantly discovered that in the end they had to ask Yang Chen for help again. Not to mention whether Yang Chen would agree to refine for the greatest heaven sect in a short period of time. The price of this alchemy alone would definitely make the greatest heaven sect feel pain. The high levels hated the wastes in the medicinal hall. For such a simple thing, with the pill recipe and the medicinal materials in hand, even a broken pill could not be refined. The sect really fed this group of waste in vain. Of course, this could only be thought in their heart, it was impossible to say it out loud. However, what happened in Li Liheng's courtyard made Sect Master Li and the core high-level leaders determined to let Yang Chen refine enough pills, no matter what the price was. No matter how big the price was, it was worth it. As long as they could establish contact with that senior, whether it was cultivation or alchemy, they could get unprecedented guidance. It seemed that the time when they became the only super martial arts sect could be expected. This was not the assumption of Sect Master Li alone, but the common understanding of all core elders who know the inside story. The arduous task of course fell on Mao Kai, the head of the foreign affairs Gaul who had dealt with Yang Chen many times. It was up to Mao Kai to let this kind of thing happen. The authorization given to Mao Kai by the high levels of the greatest heaven sect was to agree to Yang Chen, regardless of the cost, as long as he could do it. However, when Mao Kai accepted the task and left, his face was not so relaxed. The figure who left looked completely like a brave soldier who was going to die generously and only sang wind and cold in his mouth. Yang Chen didn't know how shocking the event was caused by his sudden whim at the time in the Greatest Heaven sect, and he didn't even know that the power of the Thunder Tribulation was even reflected in the Greatest Heaven sect through the imprint of the spiritual awareness. He was now preparing to enter the bridal anthurium, which has been late for 18 years, would finally become a reality. In the memory of his previous lives, he couldn't even count how many immortals wanted to become the dual cultivation partners of the Cold Plum Fairy and the Dancing Snow Fairy, even the sect master of the Profound Heaven sect, the New Jade Emperor, was part. It's a pity that they could only think about it, it's impossible to become a reality. But in front of him, the things that countless people dreamt of would soon happen to Yang Chen. Now that everyone has been promoted to the Yuning stage, the life between husband and wife would naturally happen. It was impossible for a husband and wife to be together and start double cultivation without doing anything, everything needed to be a familiar process. The highest mystery Yin Yang Heart Sutra had already made the four women accustomed to ordinary contact with Yang Chen, so now it was necessary to be familiar with a more in-depth contact process. The four women were a bit laid back, but Zhanxian was decisive. Seeing that all the women did not speak, she stood up and bit her lip and stretched out her hand to lift Yang Chen and came to a palace behind. When Zhanxian revealed her snow-white skin, as she slowly took off her outer robe to reveal it, even Yang Chen couldn't help but feel excited. Zhanxian's delicate body didn't show a trace of flaw, perfect skin tone, perfect lines, plus perfect facial features, no matter from which angle, it was a flawless work of art. Yang Chen's hand lightly touched Zhanxian's skin, which immediately caused a small tremor, and a small bump appeared on Zhanxian's delicate skin. Yang Chen slowly hugged Zhanxian, and when he kissed her cherry lips, Yang Chen suddenly felt an unreal feeling when he smelled Zhanxian's exhalation. How can I, Yang Chen, how can I win the favor of this fairy? Yang Chen could not help but whisper this sentence in Zhanxian's ear. This sentence seemed to detonate a bomb in Zhanxian's body. Zhanxian suddenly took the initiative and quickly took off Yang Chen's clothes with both hands and then plunged into Yang Chen's arms, her body heated like a fire. There was no similarity between her and the name Cold Plum Fairy. Candle Shadow shook red, both of them were cultivators, and this bridal chamber flower and candle lasted all day and night. Yang Chen and Zhanxian were also immersed in the kind of pleasure that was not a practice, and they could hardly extricate themselves. What surprised Yang Chen was that Zhanxian had actually practiced the art of inner charm, which really gave Yang Chen a surprise. The Cold Plum Fairy, who was cold outside and didn't give anyone a good face, seemed to completely let go in front of Yang Chen, becoming a passionate lover. The beauty of it was not for outsiders. But the first one, there would naturally be a second. However, Yang Chen took the initiative and pulled Gao Yu to spend the second time in his bridal chamber. Gao Yu and Zhanxian had completely different feelings. It was the joy of fulfilling the long-cherished wish for a long time for Gao Yu. With his master's amazingly charming body in his arms, Yang Chen hated not being able to be together with his master forever. Next was the senior apprentice sister Gongsun Ling. Relatively speaking, Gongsun Ling did not perform so fiercely, but she relied on Yang Chen to do what she did. No matter what Yang Chen's methods were, she was always willing and obedient. The most naughty was Sun Qingxu, and the last of Yang Chen's wives to become a woman. She had complete trust in Yang Chen, and she had completely handed herself over to Yang Chen, even Sun Qingxu would take the initiative to let Yang Chen experience some novelty. In just half a month, the four wives took turns to become real women and truly became Yang Chen's women. What surprised Yang Chen was that all the four girls had practiced sex. Although everyone did not say anything, they all wanted to give Yang Chen the most wonderful feeling to let Yang Chen's couple of bridal chambers be blissful as the gods. This kind of heavenly life, Yang Chen and the four females spent half a year in the Dragon Palace treasure house. After the husband and wife had become thoroughly familiar with each other and the four women understanding of the dual cultivation method was also in place, Yang Chen and the four women began the joint double cultivation. Each of the four women had cultivated the original cultivation methods of their own attributes, and when they cooperated with Yang Chen, they complemented each other. For the next 2 years, Yang Chen and his four wives spent the 2 years of joint and dual cultivation while consolidating their respective cultivation bases. Calculating that the time was almost the same, Yang Chen finally discussed the future cultivation with the four women. According to Yang Chen, although the four women were now considered to have a very good cultivation base, they were still far from the true Tao heart and they still needed very hard training. Regarding Yang Chen's statement, no one of the four wives would disagree. Many of Yang Chen's statements and practices have proven his correctness. As his wife, Yang Chen would never harm them, so all of them nodded. If it's just a simple ascension into the Tao, the four women would follow the current cultivation, it was a logical thing to cross the tribulation and ascend. However, things were not that simple. Yang Chen knew that the world after the ascension was not so peaceful, and the competition was even more cruel than the mortal world. Originally, following the trajectory of Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu, after they ascended, they would slowly begin to show their cruel side to the enemy, and the spiritual world and the immortal world would truly recognize the reputation of the dancing snow fairy and cold plum fairy. However, the two women in the previous life also paid a painful price in the spiritual world. Although it was not as serious as this time, their cultivation base was abolished, but they were also seriously injured, and each had hundreds of years of painful healing experience. The reason why the two women suffered such serious injuries in their previous lives was because when they first entered the spiritual world, they had no experience of brutal fighting. Yang Chen didn't want the women who were already his wives to have this kind of tragic experience again. Naturally, he wanted to wipe everything out in the infancy. Since everyone was a Wielding stage ancestor, there was a place that was most suitable for honing the Tao heart and killing experience of the girls. Yang Chen had also heard the name of that place from the mouth of the ascended Lanying before, the demon continent. Yang Chen in the previous life did not have the experience of going to the demon continent, but he also knew from some people in the spirit world that it was a continent full of killing and fighting. There was no difference between good and evil, nothing. The difference between races was just endless killings and hardships between the strong. The masters who have fought in the demon continent after ascending all become strong. How could Yang Chen let go of this kind of mortal place that could be experienced? If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 473. Return. However, the demon continent was not a place you could just go to. Among other things, just going back and forth on the road, even if Yang Chen was now promoted to Wielding stage and the shuttle would be faster, it was estimated that it would take 10 years. This was not the time for the experience, so if he wanted to go, it would take at least 50 years. Moreover, they would have to return to the sect to leave their life tablet after they were promoted to the Wielding stage. A Wielding stage ancestor was a treasure to any sect and they can't just lose them casually. They could know the life and death of their Wielding stage ancestors by leaving behind the life tablet. At the same time, they could use the life tablet to track the whereabouts of the Wielding stage ancestors when necessary. This was a step that all disciples who have been promoted to the Wielding stage and have to leave the sects must take. Yang Chen was no exception, and even more so for the four girls. Therefore, a trip back to their sects was inevitable. Everyone was not alone in the sect. Everyone accepts apprentices, so teaching apprentices was also a must. It would take at least several years for them to finish these things. Therefore, going to the demon continent was only the plan of Yang Chen's family and could not be implemented yet. However, there was one thing to be done right away. After the Dragon Clan treasure palace was collected from the dragon bead by Xiaoyan, there was no need to stay here. Yang Chen already had a dragon palace in his hands, so naturally he would collect this and integrate it with the dragon palace. After Xiaoyan swallowed the dragon bead, he fell asleep. Yang Chen controlled the dragon tower and placed it on the octagonal base of his own dragon palace. Then, with the help of Xiaoyan's body to control the dragon tower, he began to merge it with the dragon palace treasure house. He was already having a Wielding stage cultivation base, and it was easier to control it. Although the whole process required the help of Xiaoyan was his own spiritual pet and he was still sleeping, so Yang Chen's spiritual awareness remote control of it was not too difficult. The only difficulty was that it required a lot of spirit power. But on the complete East China Sea chart, there was no problem of lack of spirit power at all, and with the help of many women, it only took a few months to complete the collection of the treasure palace. So far, in the East China Sea, apart from some seabed elixir, there was nothing that Yang Chen needed to pay special attention to. Yang Chen released the shuttle and took the four ladies with him to find the right direction and fly towards the nearest green jade immortal island. The speed of the flying shuttle was unprecedentedly fast, even surpassing the speed of the previous flying shuttle with water-splitting wings. From here, they arrived at the green jade immortal island in just 2 or 3 months, which was twice as fast as before. The return of Zhanxian directly caused a sensation in the green jade immortal island. Hu Qianyi's affair was so widespread before that almost all cultivators in the world knew that the cold plum fairy had been crippled and she was seriously injured. All those who have seen Zhanxian stayed at the time, although they didn't say anything, they felt it in their hearts. Zhanxian has been hopeless, of course, as Yang Chen's fiancé, he might be able to save her life. No one had doubts about her recovering from the injury, maybe she could cultivate again. But it was simply impossible for the cold plum fairy to restore her cultivation in a short period of time. Needless to say, the cold plum fairy cultivation base would not be even higher. 99 out of 100 people who have seen Zhanxian had this attitude. Therefore, when Zhanxian stood in front of everyone again, not only was her injuries healed, but she was also successfully promoted to the wielding stage, directly leaving a lot of people in the same place for a long time, dumbfounded. After a long time, the island master and several great elders recovered first. Song Yuan, Zhanxian's master, grabbed Zhanxian in one step. She was surprised and eagerly groping for Zhanxian, with both hands on the spot to make sure that everything she saw was real. In fact, as soon as Zhanxian's wielding stage aura was released, everyone present knew that Zhanxian had been promoted to wielding stage. Now that she has been promoted to the wielding stage, no matter her previous injury or cultivation base, she was naturally all cured and there was no need for any test. But the concepts left before were too desperate, that's why a group of masters in the Green Jade Immortal Island behaved like a gaffe. After the shock, what was left was a thick surprise. Zhanxian, who was arguably the most talented disciple of the sect, her recovery, almost declared that this time the sect had no loss at all. Not only that, Zhanxian's successful recovery also meant that she once again had a place in front of her husband Yang Chen. A son-in-law who was a fifth-grade alchemist could definitely make the seniors of the Green Jade Immortal Island wake up from their sleep, although they have not enjoyed what it was like to sleep for a long time. Of course, Zhanxian was now a woman, and everyone has seen this. The Greatest Heaven sect was the biggest loser in the situation. Not only does it bear the loss of fame, but also damages to Hu Qianyi, who was a daching stage master. There was also a great elder, plus dozens of Yuning stage, and hundreds of Jitan stage masters lost. Counting the compensation from the Greatest Heaven sect before, the Greatest Heaven sect could simply be said to have lost his wife and broke down. Everyone knew who caused such a miracle. He was a great guest, and now Zhanxian's savior, Yang Chen, should have become the most honored guest of the Green Jade Immortal Island. Including the island master, they all respected Yang Chen. The more they looked, the more they felt like that. Yang Chen's other three wives naturally received a grand reception. Zhanxian was dragged by her master Song Yuan hurriedly to the Patriarch's hall to pay respect to the Patriarch and at the same time to leave her life tablet. The Green Jade Immortal Island almost celebrated because of Zhanxian's great return. Later, under the persuasion of several great elders, there was no big fanfare, but a simple congratulation from them. He could bring back Zhanxian, who was on the brink of death, and not only heal her injuries, but also improve her cultivation base. How could such a genius not bring awe out of the people? What's more, there was an ultimate weapon in Yang Chen's hand, the face-retaining pills. At least 5 of the seniors of the Green Jade Immortal Island have already experienced it. Including Zhanxian, that was the 6th one. A living example was in front of them, and for these female cultivators to deliberately maintain the image of a master, it was already comparable to the difficulty of fighting the Greatest Heaven sect. In the hall welcoming the distinguished guests, the island master had already recovered her calm and asked in detail about the experiences of Yang Chen and the women over the years. Yang Chen wasn't too detailed, so he gave a brief introduction. After talking about some experiences that were not too much of a secret. At the end, the island master asked solemnly Yang Chen, the face-retaining pills, would you be refining some? This was not what the island master needed for herself. The face-retaining pills that Yang Chen gave to the island master last time were all refined with 10,000-year materials, which could make people look youthful in the mortal world. The words of the island master were asked for the millions of disciples in the Green Jade Immortal Island. Only the 5 of them have enjoyed such great benefits, it would be abnormal if the people below were not making noise. As a woman, the island master certainly knew better than Yang Chen the fatal attraction of this face-retaining pills to female cultivators. Therefore, she must take advantage of this time to ask clearly, even if they can't get it right away, she must also win a chance for her own disciples. He has been with the ladies for a long time, so naturally they also talked about this topic. Yang Chen now understands how much trouble he has caused himself to launch the face-retaining pills at this time. However, if the situation at the time were not revealed, Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian wouldn't even have the least confidence, so Yang Chen couldn't help thinking too much. Now that things have happened, Yang Chen naturally wouldn't refuse. However, Fairy Chang's face-retaining pills were not so easy to obtain, and it was impossible to say that Yang Chen could only use the 2nd grade 9 Heaven Profound face-retaining pill to deal with it. Moreover, the medicinal materials cannot be replaced with a 1,000-year-old one with this extremely precious medicinal pill. Even so, this face-retaining pill was destined to be expensive. Yang Chen alone, even if he doesn't do anything every day, specifically refining the face-retaining pills, he couldn't meet the needs of all the female monks in the world. What's more, even if it was a second 10,000-year medicinal material, it was also a 10,000-year medicinal material. How many could there be in this mortal world? After this junior returns to the sect, I will spend a period of time to refine a batch of low-level face-retaining pills, which will be sold by my 10,000 treasure tower. After making a decision, Yang Chen didn't mind sending the news out sooner. He also gave publicity to the 10,000 treasure tower. The specific price will be decided by brother Shangyuan of the 10,000 treasure tower. With just this sentence, Shangyuan Feng became the favorite friend of women of all female cultivators after Yang Chen. Which 10,000 treasure tower could allocate how many face-retaining pills quotas were all within the thought of Shangyuan Feng. Which female cultivator does not want to have a good relationship with Shangyuan Feng? There were many blue-faced confidants of any female cultivator. These people, almost without exception, praised Shangyuan Feng highly. Although it couldn't meet everyone's needs, at least there would be a stable channel to buy the face-retaining pills in the future. The island master was relatively satisfied. Naturally, the host and the guest had a great time. Zhanxian also came back and sat beside Yang Chen. Her every move was very submissive, giving Yang Chen enough face. After staying in the Green Jade Immortal Island for almost a month, Yang Chen took his master and senior apprentice sister and son Qingxu and flew to the Blue Cloud sect instead. Zhanxian wanted to stay in the sect to handle some affairs and at the same time continue to receive some guidance in the sect. It was almost the same reaction as Zhanxian's return to the Green Jade Immortal Island. The people of the Blue Cloud sect almost shouted when they saw the living son Qingxu and son Qingxu, who had become a Yuning stage ancestor. A vague message came from the Green Jade Immortal Island before. It was said that the Cold Plum Fairy had returned to the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Dancing Snow Fairy who was with her was also there, but the specific situation was unknown to them. When Yang Chen's family stayed in the Green Jade Immortal Island, the Blue Cloud sect was already waiting to see through and it was easy to wait until people returned to the sect. Who knows, that meeting was an unforgettable surprise. Elder Hua Wanting was just like son Qingxu's mother, carefully looking at son Qingxu up and down for fear that she would still leave a trace of hidden danger. This disciple of their sect was not as good as Zhanxian in cultivation, so in Hu Qianyi's attack, she was not as badly injured as Zhanxian. But it was worth mentioning that even with Hu Qianyi's daching stage cultivation base, when he was alone against son Qingxu, she did not get caught intact. This was already the highest praise to son Qingxu. Even if the injury was not as serious as Zhanxian, in the eyes of the members of the Blue Cloud sect, son Qingxu's best result was a complete failure of her cultivation base. With Yang Chen, perhaps she could recultivate after recovering from her injuries, but no one had expected such a big surprise. In just 20 years, all of son Qingxu's injuries were healed and she was elevated to the Yuning stage. Even if the 5th grade Lingzi Mushroom Jade Pill could heal the injuries of the Daching Stage Masters, they were after all Daching Stage Masters, their bodies were extremely powerful and they wouldn't be swallowed by the medicinal energy. Zhanxian and son Qingxu in the Yuning stage couldn't bear the medicinal energy of the 5th grade Lingzi Mushroom Jade Pill at all. Under such circumstances, Yang Chen even successfully cured the injuries of the two women and improved their cultivation. The mystery of this makes people feel expectant after thinking about it. However, everyone in the Blue Cloud sect also knew that this kind of thing belonged to Yang Chen's exclusive secret method and it was absolutely impossible to ask. However, this did not prevent them from asking their disciple son Qingxu. Naturally, this was the next thing, the top priority was to entertain the Yang Chen family. Zhanxian's absence, the friendship between the Green Jade Immortal Island and Blue Cloud sect, was not a big deal. But Yang Chen couldn't be neglected, the grand posture of the Blue Cloud sect was almost the same as the Green Jade Immortal Island. Even the question asked by Sect Master Lu during the dinner was the same. The Blue Cloud sect was also mainly having female disciples, and the demand for the face-retaining pills would never be less than the Green Jade Immortal Island. Therefore, before Yang Chen had refined the face-retaining pills, Shangyuan Feng had already become the object of the two-sect struggle. Favored by the two sects, Shangyuan Feng felt painful and happy. Also, after staying in the Blue Cloud sect for a month, Yang Chen left with his master and senior apprentice sister and hurried back to the Puryang Palace. At this time, the news that the Cold Plum Fairy and Dancing Snow Fairy had returned at the same time had spread among the cultivators and even the two girls had been promoted to the Yuning stage. Regardless of the surprise of these people, Yang Chen drove the shuttle and quickly returned to the Puryang Palace. The palace master brought all the elders and Yuning stage masters out to greet them. They had heard about the return of the 5 members of Yang Chen's family a long time ago and they had waited for them. Now they finally saw Yang Chen appear in front of them with Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling. The 3 Yuning stage masters caused the palace master to nod and say with a little choking, "Good. Good." There was nothing else to say. Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling's masters, Wang Yong and Gao Xian, were also feeling unspeakable pride looking at their disciples. In the end, everyone's eyes were on Yang Chen. This was the talent and miracle that allowed the entire Pyongyang Palace to spread its wings and fly high, the unicorn of the Pyongyang Palace. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 474. Last Bamboo Pole. Yang Chen also didn't elaborate on where they were going for the seclusion to his own sect master ancestor and the others. He just said that he had refined a special pill and wanted to try his best to restore the Cold Plum Fairy and the Dancing Snow Fairy's cultivation base. As for everyone's collective promotion to the Wielding stage, it was because of the long-term seclusion and their dual cultivation. In addition to their dual cultivation method, Yang Chen also prepared a relatively ordinary but superior double cultivation method to prevaricate the past. There were many things, except for the husband and wives, other people couldn't know too much, even if it was the palace master. Yang Chen had already made this point clear to his 4 wives. In fact, the 4 women also knew that the things Yang Chen gave them, just taking them out was enough to send the whole world of cultivators into a craze. Treasures driving people crazy was not only applicable to ordinary people, it was also applicable in the world of cultivators. In any case, there were 3 more Wielding stage ancestors in the Pyongyang Palace, which was no small matter. In the past, there were only 8 Wielding stage ancestors in the Pyongyang Palace, and there was one who had a heart toward the greatest heaven sect. Later, although many Wielding stage ancestors were recruited, the monster race were mostly aliens, and the Wielding stage ancestors who were human beings were among the few. In the years when Yang Chen was absent, the changes in the Pyongyang Palace have continued with each passing day. Those newly recruited disciples with good aptitude searched from the private sector have already begun to show up temporarily, and thousands of them have reached the Jidan stage. Compared to the past, there were only a few hundred people who were having poor qualifications, and they have not increased for a long time, it's simply heaven and earth. There was even more rapid development in the Hall of Eccentrics. There were already about a dozen Wielding stage monster cultivators who have reached the peak Wielding stage, and everyone has received a questioning inner heart pill and began their seclusion. As long as they wait until they end their seclusion, maybe there would be more Daching stage masters in the sect. There were more monster race cultivators in the Jidan stage. So in the past few decades, every year, 1 or 2 monsters at the peak Jidan stage would face their tribulation with the help of the second grade inner sensing pill. The total number of Wielding stage ancestors in the Pyongyang Palace was close to 200, just this power would make many sects jealous. Of course, it was more envy than jealousy. Who told their sect not to have a 5th grade alchemist? It could be said that the Pyongyang Palace could have such achievements, and it absolutely cannot be separated from Yang Chen. Now the Pyongyang Palace, even without the backing of the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect, could still be regarded as a quasi-first-class sect, and it was also a force that could not be ignored. Even recently, 2 small sects around them have wanted to come and join the Pyongyang Palace. Naturally, the palace master and the elders were in charge of these matters, and Yang Chen had a lot of things to do when he came back. First, they went to the Patriarch Hall to pay respect to the Patriarch and then went to leave behind their life tablet. When he reached the Wielding stage, he already had the strength to completely put his own spiritual awareness imprint into the jade tablet with his life source and preserve it for a long time. Each jade tablet was engraved with the name of the owner of the jade tablet, and if something goes wrong, they could quickly figure out which one it was. The current life tablet hall was no longer having only a few life tablets like in the past. There were hundreds of life tablets, arranged neatly and hung on the most conspicuous wall. As long as you look at it, there was a kind of natural pride. This was the masters of their own sect. After completing these things, when Yang Chen stayed alone to meet with the palace master and a few core elders, Yang Chen was congratulated by everyone one by one. There was nothing that could be done about it, it was not just Yang Chen who cultivated diligently alone, and everyone present cultivation base has been improved. Even Qiaoming and Zhu Chengxin, who had just raised their realms not long ago, seemed to have raised a small realm. After reaching the peak early Wielding stage, he could enter the middle Wielding stage in a few decades. Elder Gao Xian was already at the peak Wielding stage. Yang Chen looked at him, maybe the tribulation would appear in the next 10 or 20 years. At that time, there would be another master of the Pyongyang Palace who had reached the Daching stage by himself. While the strength of Pyongyang Palace has improved, it also adds more attractiveness. Who could refuse a sect that could bring so many Daching stage masters? Who doesn't want to join such a sect? Isn't the reason why those super large sects attract people because of the more resources for cultivation and the more attractive prospects for cultivators? However, the masters of the super sects themselves were disciples with excellent spiritual aptitudes, and it was natural to have high achievements. But several elders in the Pyongyang Palace, including Wang Yong and Gao Xian, were completely hopeless before. For such a cultivator to be promoted, this was even more rare for Pyongyang Palace. After some congratulations, Yang Chen talked about the face-retaining pills to the palace master. This face-retaining pill was originally the pill that Yang Chen refined, and everyone naturally had no opinion on how he would deal with it. It's a shame to sell at a price. The palace master was worthy of being an old fried dough stick. As soon as he rolled his eyes, he came up with an idea: every time you take a few of them, they will be auctioned in various places. The price must contain some medicinal materials you need. If Yang Chen divided the face-retaining pills into grades, the low-level ones would use the 1000-year medicinal materials, the intermediate ones would use the 1000-year medicinal materials, and the high-level ones would use the 10,000-year medicinal materials, it would definitely meet the needs of cultivators at all levels. It was conceivable that when these face-retaining pills were launched, the 10,000 treasure tower would definitely become a new dark horse that could rival a few large organizations. Others wouldn't dare to suppress it, otherwise they would endure the condemnation of countless female cultivators and the crazy attacks of those blue-faced confidants around them. The Banyan Tree Immortal's cave was now completely in the hands of the Pure Yang Palace, and Hu Yun was still there to handle it. The Immortal's cave could collect the first wood spiritual solution, so it can't be easily given up. It happens to be an outer sect of the Pure Yang Palace. There were not many other things in the sect that Yang Chen needed to know. On the contrary, the Blue Cloud sect had already obtained the batch of the questioning inner heart pills given by Yang Chen and paid the remuneration as scheduled. These things were kept for Yang Chen by the palace master, and they happened to be returned to Yang Chen now. And during these years, there was another Yuning stage master in the Blue Cloud sect who had reached the Daching stage, and the Green Jade Immortal Island also had one, which put great pressure on the Greatest Heaven sect. Others were increasing their Daching stage masters, only the Greatest Heaven sect was constantly losing them. For Yang Chen, this was also good news. However, he believed that the Greatest Heaven sect would soon come to him. Sure enough, the palace master told Yang Chen next that Mao Kai, the head of the Foreign Affairs Hall of the Greatest Heaven sect, had been waiting for him for 2 years. This time Mao Kai was not what he used to be, he waited for news after he notified the Greatest Heaven sect, he kept squatting in the Pure Yang Palace, waiting for Yang Chen to come around. Hall Master Mao performed well this time and waited patiently, beyond everyone's expectations. Those who knew the prestige of Hallmaster Mao of the Greatest Heaven sect were sturdily shocked. Even the Hallmaster of the Greatest Heaven sect behaved like this. Those people of all kinds who came to ask for alchemy were naturally well behaved and cautious, for fear that a word would offend anyone in the Pure Yang Palace, as the chance of asking for alchemy by themselves was completely slim. This kind of waiting, the Greatest Heaven sect's intention was simply obvious. Of course, the Five Element sect and the Qianqin sect, which were about to be in the back, would like it. Even if the Greatest Heaven sect was powerful, it can't be unreasonable, right? There were repeated requests for stoppering, and it was still a stopper for decades. How could it be so easy? Of course, the two sects sent someone over to negotiate upon receiving the news. To put it bluntly, Mao Kai almost made a hard oath that they would never take the opportunity of the two major sects this time, but wanted Yang Chen to make an extra move. He would also give the Five Element sect and the Qianqin sect how much benefit they didn't know, and then reluctantly made the two sects stop pursuing the matter. But there was a prerequisite: if Yang Chen disagrees, then everything was forbidden. Even if he doesn't give face to the Greatest Heaven sect, he would not hesitate. Those who break the rules would always be attacked by the people who obey the rules. No matter how powerful the Greatest Heaven sect was, it was impossible to compete with the combined forces of the four major sects. To be honest, Mao Kai was indeed ready to sink the boat and let Yang Chen help this one last time. After this time, he never wanted to see Yang Chen's face again, unless it was before he killed Yang Chen. After seeing the young sect master Li Ling, Mao Kai firmly believed in the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. A predecessor in the spirit world could definitely make the sect more prosperous. Compared with this ultimate goal, the extraneous things that Yang Chen wanted were not worth mentioning. When Yang Chen sat opposite Mao Kai, he clearly saw the frenzy in Mao Kai's eyes. It seemed that the hand he played when he was facing the tribulation was enough to make the Greatest Heaven sect make up their mind. Grandmaster Yang, wise people don't talk secretly. Mao Kai knew that Yang Chen would never keep his hands and would never be afraid of the strength of the Greatest Heaven sect, so after taking a sip of tea, he said directly, "The sect asks for the spirit congealing pill, please make a price." Spirit congealing pills. Yang Chen showed a playful smile on his face, looking at Mao Kai, and asked, "Wasn't the pill recipe sold to you? Why, do you think that the pill recipe is fake?" "Don't worry, this younger generation junior made a hard oath, I didn't face the heart devil when I was going through the thunder tribulation, so the pill recipe I gave to senior was absolutely genuine." Of course Mao Kai discovered that Yang Chen was already a Yuning stage ancestor, and he even knew that Yang Chen's 4 wives had been promoted to the Yuning stage. At this point, Mao Kai could only be envious. Who would let him not have a fifth-grade alchemist to help at all costs? Looking at this situation, let alone being promoted to the Yuning stage, even if it was the Dacheng stage, it was not impossible to ascend one day. The authenticity of the pill recipe has already been identified by the masters of the greatest heaven sect's medicinal hall, and there was no doubt that it was absolutely real. And the sentence Yang Chen said today also proves this point. He made a hard oath, when he faced the tribulation, he would face the oath. Once the oath was violated, the heart would definitely be overwhelmed when the tribulation was faced. At the very least, he would usually turn into flying ash and completely disappear from this world. Yang Chen's words made Mao Kai blush. What else could he say? Could he say that his own medicinal hall has raised a group of idiots, dozens of Yuning stage masters, third and fourth grade alchemists, who have not been able to refine a spirit-congealing pill? However, even without saying these words, Yang Chen knew it well. Since it was something that everyone was tacitly aware of, then simply put it on the surface and make it clear. Grandmaster, you are really clever. This time, my greatest heaven sect acknowledges that the punishment is deserved. Mao Kai bluntly admitted that he failed. He took the pill recipe but couldn't refine the pill. He was embarrassed, but he was ashamed in front of a fifth-grade alchemist. It doesn't seem to be a big deal either. After several times of contact with Yang Chen, Mao Kai's face was now thick to a certain extent. At least listening to Yang Chen's half-tittering and half-truth, he could sit on the spot and drink tea, instead of getting up and walking away. It explains everything. After surrendering his defeat simply and neatly, Mao Kai also directly asked again a spirit-congealing pill that is sufficient to treat my young sect master, grandmaster, name a price. Yang Chen stared at Mao Kai's eyes, as if he wanted to see the bottom line of the greatest heaven sect from Mao Kai's eyes. Mao Kai didn't hesitate to look at Yang Chen, but both of them were Yuning stage ancestors, so even if Mao Kai wanted to overwhelm Yang Chen with his aura, he couldn't. The 7th grade fire seed, do you still have it? Yang Chen asked directly without being wordy. If so, then we have a deal. Mao Kai almost sprayed out a mouthful of old blood, spraying it on Yang Chen's face. What did he think a 7th grade fire seed was? The greatest heaven sect had a big influence, and the collection of 4 7th grade fire seeds was already the limit. Where could they get another one again? Besides, even if there was a 7th grade fire seed and they gave it to Yang Chen, could he use it? Mao Kai was very uncomfortable with Yang Chen's practice of it being useless to him, but still occupying it by his side. Instead of wanting something that was not necessary at all, he might as well want some practical magic weapon that could improve his cultivation base or better things like that. Even if it was the greatest heaven sect, talents come forth in large numbers. These 7th grade fire seeds have been in existence for hundreds of thousands of years, but only single-digit disciples could control them. No matter how powerful Yang Chen was, Mao Kai didn't realize that Yang Chen had this ability. Yang Chen asked for the 7th grade fire seed, and Mao Kai wanted to knock Yang Chen to the ground with a punch. These 7th grade fire seeds are really finished. The anger returned to calm, but Mao Kai still suppressed his emotions and said in calm words as much as possible change to something else. In that case Yang Chen touched his chin and slowly moved his fingers on his chin, as if stroking his non-existent beard. After thinking about it, he said again then 10 kinds of the original spirit power essence, each one. Some of the original spirit power was not collected by Yang Chen, so if he could get the full set from the greatest heaven sect, it would be a good thing. Upon hearing this, Mao Kai staggered and threw himself in front of Yang Chen. 10 kinds of original spirit power essence, one for each. Sure enough, it didn't hurt to speak while standing. The greatest heaven sect spent hundreds of years in order to try to collect a little 5th earth true essence, but later failed. Even the 5 element sect was offended. 10 kinds were required. What kind of joke was this? If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 475. Reward. Forgive me for speaking out. Mao Kai didn't feel embarrassed in front of Yang Chen, he just talked eloquently. Spirit power true essence, didn't you already have a kind of 6th earth true essence last time? In addition, if there is no original cultivation method, then this original spirit power essence is not so easy to use. Mao Kai's words were not exaggerated at all. Without the original spirit power, and not the monster race with extraordinary talents, forcibly absorbing the original spirit power would result in only one end, exploding to death without exception. This was also a reminder to Yang Chen to point out practical things and not always keep this kind of extremely precious but unusable scrap. You can't use it, it doesn't mean that this younger generation junior can't use it. Yang Chen smiled and explained to Mao Kai. If some medicinal pills have such a small amount of it, it is enough to make the medicinal pill be reborn. You don't need a heavy hammer to sound a drum, and a smart person doesn't need a second sentence. Mao Kai immediately understood Yang Chen's plan. Of course, this was the concept Yang Chen deliberately gave him. No. Mao Kai shook his head resolutely. Originally, he was ready to be violently ripped off by the lion, but he was not ready to be broken by Yang Chen. The 10 spirit power true essence were not available in the greatest heaven sect. Are there several? The vacant part is easy to discuss and can be replaced with other things. Yang Chen said with a smile, looking like a very old bargainer. Nothing. Mao Kai shook his head again and replied decisively, the only one has been given to you last time. The others are really gone, let's change to something else. Master Mao is not sincere. Yang Chen shook his head and said disapprovingly, if that's the case, then there is nothing to talk about. He started to make a gesture of serving tea. He just intended to see off the guest. How could Mao Kai let this negotiation fall apart? Of course, he must do his best to reach an agreement. Seeing that Yang Chen was about to serve tea, he hurriedly reached out to stop Yang Chen. Regardless of the dignity of a Yuning stage master, he hurriedly said, the original spirit power true essence is really not there. Even if there is, it has been used by the elders. Last time the 6th earth true essence was left by chance, it's really gone. Let's change to something else. To be ashamed was to be ashamed. Mao Kai has already given up. This was the last time and there would be no next time. The tone of his speech was almost pleading. Speaking of it, Senior Mao, this spirit congealing pill is not a great medicine. Yang Chen pretended to be puzzled and asked casually, the young sect master of your noble sect is so important that it can make Master Mao so abnormal. When Yang Chen said this, Mao Kai was a bit alert, they must not let Yang Chen sense a single trace of the situation. But beyond that, there seems to be no good explanation. The only possibility was to admit certain rumors. Grandmaster, now it will not hide anything. Mao Kai's heart was stunned. Anyway, Sect Master Li only needed the spirit congealing pills, so he could only sacrifice his reputation. The young Sect Master is my Sect Master Li's biological son, so you know. This reason was enough to explain why Mao Kai valued the spirit congealing pills so much, and it was enough to explain everything before. Yang Chen was amused, looking at Mao Kai, he really didn't know how to react, he could even say this kind of thing, which shows that he was forced to a certain extent. So that's it. Yang Chen estimated that he couldn't knock what he said before from Mao Kai, and he had to take a step back, rubbing his chin and thinking for a moment before he said 20 kinds of 6th grade fire seeds that the junior don't have, also. There is no problem with the 6th grade fire seeds. Mao Kai hurriedly agreed first and then continued to ask what else. The greatest heaven sect has a long history. There are always some medicine gardens and elixir left by predecessors more than 100,000 years ago. Yang Chen stared at Mao Kai and said these words plus such a medicine garden and elixir, then we have a deal. Mao Kai almost hit a hiccup and swallowed again. The medicine garden and the elixir mentioned by Yang Chen really existed in the greatest heaven sect, but those elixir were all from the bottom of their super reserve. For ordinary circumstances, even if they refined the questioning inner heart pill, they would not use the super reserve. Yang Chen really dared to think that he would get it. This was what Yang Chen had considered for a long time. In the greatest heaven sect, Yang Chen had heard some people blowing the ruins in the heavenly court in the previous life, so naturally at this time he was not polite. If you can't be satisfied, then leave it alone. Yang Chen looked at Mao Kai still hesitant and added another sentence. He could now be sure that the greatest heaven sect was in urgent need of the spirit congealing pills, so he didn't worry about not agreeing. It doesn't matter if they don't agree, anyway, the initiative was in his own hands. The greatest heaven sect saw the hope of the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method succeeding and would agree with him at this point. This was Yang Chen's confidence. Otherwise, if anyone dared to blackmail the greatest heaven sect in this way, it would definitely be that even their sect would be uprooted by the greatest heaven sect, leaving nothing behind. This time, it was Mao Kai's turn to consider. What Yang Chen wanted was definitely the heart and soul of the greatest heaven sect. The 10,000-year spirit medicine was very rare, so what was the concept of a spirit medicine that had matured for 100,000 years? It was estimated that the restless Kai refining stage juniors could directly build their foundation after a smell of the scent. Were these precious things really going to be given away? However, looking at Yang Chen in front of him, Mao Kai remembered the time when Yang Chen smiled and said to him that the market had changed now. If he refused this time, then the same situation would be repeated next time. Although Master Mao had murmured in front of Yang Chen several times, he had already sworn an oath before coming this time. This was the last time, and there would be no next time. The 6th grade fire seed was a trivial matter, but the addition of the elixir in the medicine garden, even if it was used by the elders, it would have to pass by almost 80% of the elders at the top. Can he really agree? On one side was the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method, on the other side was the medicine garden, adding the elixir, which was more than 100,000 years old, so Mao Kai was in a dilemma. Seeing Mao Kai fighting between heaven and man here, Yang Chen said nothing but waited quietly. In fact, he was also a little excited in his heart. If he could really get such a medicine garden's elixir, it would play a very important role in his alchemy and the expansion of his medicine garden space. Mao Kai sat opposite, thinking about it for 2 hours without moving his body. Although Yuning stage masters were really used to things like this, Mao Kai was not cultivating, so Yang Chen can't help but look forward to it more and more. If you immediately refine the pills, the deal will be done. Mao Kai finally made up his mind, choosing between the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method and the medicine garden elixir. The sect master said that whatever they gave away, he could kill Yang Chen when the time came and then take it back. The promise was a promise, but Mao Kai still made a condition that it must be refined immediately. The sooner he refined it, the sooner Li Lihing's injury would heal, and he would be able to cultivate the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. When the reward is handed, that would be when the alchemy will start. Yang Chen chose to agree to this condition without hesitation. 26 great fire seeds, plus a medicine garden with more than 100,000-year-old plus elixir, could definitely make Yang Chen laugh out loud in his dreams. However, empty words were not enough, only those. Mao Kai left immediately without saying a word, he waited 2 years for this moment. Anyway, the conditions have been negotiated by himself. At that time, the sect master and the core elders also said that if he decided by himself, there would be no major problems. After returning to the sect, his master Gao Yu began to plan to start refining the dragon horn flying sword, and his senior apprentice sister Gongsunling also began to teach the female apprentice she had received, while consolidating her cultivation. For the time being, life was very peaceful, but the three of them were now openly living together. Yang Chen was now looking forward to Mao Kai's coming again, more than Mao Kai was looking forward to his return. Unfortunately, he was destined to disappoint him. Mao Kai had said in secret that he would never see Yang Chen again, so this time the things were sent by 2 other Daching stage masters. For the 6 grade fire seeds, Yang Chen tested it one by one and confirmed that he did not have it before accepting it. Afterwards, the Daching stage master carefully took out a wooden box from his Qiankin's bag and held it in his hand, but did not immediately hand it to Yang Chen. After squeezing it for a while, it was handed over to Yang Chen. When can we get the pill? The 2 Daching stage masters who had delivered the things were obviously planning to wait here to get the pills. The box had been delivered to Yang Chen, but instead of letting go, they asked Yang Chen. 2 years. Yang Chen said very positively. Now that he has been promoted to the Yuning stage, his spiritual power exceeds the Jitan stage by more than 10 times in terms of quality and quantity. So he was faster when refining a pill. Don't make any mistakes. Another Daching master threatened face to face. The faces of the palace master and Wang Yong next to him were a little ugly. This younger generation junior swears by the heart demon, I will definitely do my best to refine the pill. Yang Chen casually gave a reply with the heart demon's oath, which made the other party feel at ease, and he released his hand holding the wooden box. Here, the palace master settled the 2 Daching stage masters, and Yang Chen over there did not break his promise and went straight to retreat and began the alchemy. Since it was agreed with the greatest heaven sect, when Yang Chen got the things, he simply verified the authenticity of the wooden box medicine garden, looked at the elixir inside, and threw the wooden box medicine garden into the net bottle medicinal garden and began to make alchemy for the greatest heaven sect. Although the net bottle medicinal garden does not have the long history of the wooden box medicinal garden, it has one more advantage than the wooden box medicinal garden, that was, it has a tool spirit. There was no doubt that the greatest heaven sect would not give Yang Chen the medicinal garden with tool spirits. Maybe there were several similar heritage medicine gardens, and this was just the worst one. Even so, the elixir in it has already made Yang Chen speechless. After he got the Yang Mountain medicine garden, he was already a rich man in spirit medicine, but when he was really compared with the inheritance of the greatest heaven sect for hundreds of thousands of years, the difference was not 1 or 2 points. The foundation of the big sect, it was far from what Yang Chen could contend with alone. Azhu and Abby were even more pleasantly surprised than Yang Chen. If the 2 medicine gardens became one, just the elixir in the wooden box medicine garden was enough to raise them to a level again. Even without Yang Chen's order, Azhu and Abby began to devour the wooden box medicine garden. It's just that this wooden box medicine garden has been in existence for so long, and it was not known how many masters have experienced it before and after, so it was almost impossible to swallow it smoothly. Yang Chen also knows this. This was a long-term slow effort, so he doesn't look forward to it right away. Anyway, the things were in his hands, and the elixir could be used at any time without delay. It didn't take Yang Chen too much time to refine the spirit congealing pills. especially after his spiritual awareness has been promoted to the second stage of the human immortal realm, coupled with the effect of the fourth stage of the three purities secret art. This kind of pill that required distraction and multi-use has no difficulty for Yang Chen. Since the Greatest Heaven sect also took out their own collections, Yang Chen didn't mind giving the Greatest Heaven sect a more beautiful job. Of course, it was mainly due to the profound spirit furnace merits. After the first round of spirit congealing pills were refined, the second grade spirit congealing pills were released. Yang Chen didn't use up the 2 years, it only took 1.5 years to refine enough spirit congealing pills. But still he patiently and carefully thought about it in the alchemy room for half a year before leaving. Seeing the second grade spirit congealing pills that Yang Chen gave them, the two Daching Master Elders of the Greatest Heaven sect didn't say much, they just checked the quantity of the pill, then carefully sealed it in a jade bottle and collected it, then turned around and left without a moment's stay. They used such a high price to ask for the pill. The Palace Master watched the two Daching Stage Masters leave and couldn't help but said to Yang Chen, could Li Liheng really be the son of Sect Master Li? That is fake. Yang Chen smiled and gave an answer to the Palace Master. His gaze had been watching the direction the two Daching Stage Masters had left in, and a stone in his heart finally landed. The Greatest Heaven sect, after all, was hooked. The next step was to wait for decades to implement all the plans that he had already thought of, surely it would be very pleasant. What you are going to do, you don't have to tell us. The Palace Master also realized something and patted Yang Chen's shoulder gently as long as you remember that the Pure Yang Palace will be with you at any time. Disciple will remember. These words were the real sect's concern and Yang Chen certainly wanted to appreciate it. As Hu and Abby swallowed the wooden box medicinal garden only by a little bit. Fortunately, the medicinal garden has a huge amount of first wood spiritual solution as a backing, so they could cope with the huge spirit power needed to swallow them. Not only that, Yang Chen also threw in a lot of 7th metal and 10th water crystal stones, which made Azhu and Abby even more powerful. Not only that, the two tool spirits also used the 24 Penglai divine wood monsters that had been growing in the medicine garden. It was not known what method they used to make these Penglai divine wood monsters to withstand the space backlash, the damage was much faster than before. According to this progress, it was believed that it would not be long before the two medicinal gardens could be combined into one. At that time, Yang Chen could also refine some of the legendary elixir of life and death. Except for cultivating and teaching apprentices, Yang Chen was now starting to absorb the fire seeds that he has collected. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 476. Yang's Eyes Opportunity. Yang Chen's fire seeds now included all types of fire seeds in the mortal world, from the 1st to the 7th grade. However, all of the 6th grade fire seeds and 7th grade fire seeds were completely untouched, but he controlled the profound spirit furnace to absorb some 5th grade fire seeds and lower fire seeds. Of course, this was only absorbed into the profound spirit furnace. The level of the profound spirit furnace needs to be improved, except for Yang Chen's usual use of the heavenly spirit treasure refining secret art and earth fiend sacrificial formation secret art, as well as universe treasure raising secret art sacrificial refining, all that was left was to absorb the fire seeds. In addition, the fire seeds were absorbed into the profound spirit furnace, which was the safest way for Yang Chen. Although many fire seeds were kept well when they were handed over to Yang Chen, who knows if there were any tricks played by the Greatest Heaven sect when delivering the fire seeds. When the high-level fire seeds rebelled, Yang Chen would inevitably face a backlash. Therefore, the safest way was to absorb all these fire seeds into the profound spirit furnace. Then through the profound spirit furnace, before slowly merging it into his own yin-yang heaven-burning fire. He has successively received a lot of fire seeds below the 6th grade, including payment from the Blue Cloud sect. Yang Chen first absorbed these fire seeds into the profound spirit furnace without any effort. Now Yang Chen's realm has been greatly improved and his ability to control the profound spirit furnace and flame control was even higher and he could absorb low-level fire seeds, which was several times or even dozens of times faster than before. At the end of absorbing these fire seeds, the speed would increase. In just a few months, all the fire seeds below the 6th grade were absorbed into the profound spirit furnace. After that, Yang Chen began to use his mind for the 6th grade fire seeds. The highest level of the fire seeds that Yang Chen had controlled in his previous life was the 5th grade True Sun Fire. But now he has 5 kinds of 7th grade fire seeds, plus dozens of 6th grade fire seeds. These things made Yang Chen very greedy. However, after weighing it up, Yang Chen gave up this dangerous move. For now, with Yang Chen's ability to control fire seeds, it's not enough to control a 6th grade fire seed. It was still necessary to increase the power of the yin-yang heaven burning fire first. Yang Chen only absorbed the 3rd grade fire seeds. There were too many fire seeds, and it takes a lot of time to absorb and fuse the fire seeds. He paid attention to gradual and orderly practice in cultivation, the same was true for the yin-yang heaven-burning fire. If he absorbed the high-level fire seeds from the beginning, it would inevitably cause an unstable foundation. This was a fatal flaw for the yin-yang burning sky fire, so Yang Chen tried his best to absorb the low-level fire seeds first. However, staying in the sect to absorb and fuse the fire seeds, Yang Chen always felt that it was a little waste of time. Instead of this, it was better to go out on the way and use the time on the road to do this. Bao Yu wanted to refine her dragon horn flying sword and could not leave the sect for the time being. Gongsun would also be in the sect for a while, so in the end, it was Yang Chen who embarked on the journey alone. The first thing to do was for him to go to the far north of the monster race plain. 100 years ago, Yang Chen left a formation for collecting the fourth fire true essence. It must have collected enough fourth fire true essence for Yang Chen to cultivate the fourth fire true secret art and he wanted to get it back. That was the secret plane found from that unlucky Yuning stage ancestor from the greatest heaven sect. He would also take that secret plane along the way and leave it to his future apprentice. Speaking of apprentices, when he calculated according to the days, there would be an apprentice accepted by Yang Chen in the near future. Hua Menju, a talented spirit medicine planter, although her cultivation may be relatively poor, she was an absolute master in spirit medicine planting. She discovered the method of growing the thunder pomegranate. After returning from the far north, he could just bring Hua Menju back to the sect and accept her as an apprentice, and Yang Chen had already prepared gifts for Hua Menju. The 2 medicinal gardens plus the secret plane to be collected from the far north this time would definitely allow Hua Menju to exert her strengths. Because her cultivation base was not very strong, although Hua Menju devoted herself to the Green Jade Immortal Island in her previous life, she did not receive much attention at the beginning. It was not until 100 years later that she discovered the method of growing the thunder pomegranate, which made her famous. With the support of the Green Jade Immortal Island at any cost, she ascended to the spiritual world and the immortal world. However, Hua Menju's final cultivation base was not very high, but she had reached the level of the Golden Immortal. She was a highly regarded figure and has always had a high status. This female apprentice, Yang Chen could accept. With her talent for planting spirit medicine, coupled with the spirit medicine possessed by Yang Chen and the elderly Lord Pill scripture left by the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord, this combination would definitely make anyone salivate. Few people could catch up with Yang Chen's speed now. No matter where he goes, the senior sect leaders were very relieved. In addition, Yang Chen was already a Yuning stage master, and his ability to protect himself was absolutely not bad, so when he left alone, no one had any objections. After all, it was good to cultivate frequently, and it was impossible to cultivate into a golden immortal by working behind closed doors. The journey went smoothly, and there was almost no obstacle to the high-speed travel. Yang Chen first took the way to the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave in the 10,000 Trees forest, and after meeting with Hu Yun, did he change to the extreme north. While Yang Chen kept absorbing and fusing the fire seeds on the road to strengthen the yin-yang heaven-burning fire, it was also the most difficult period Yang Zai had in the greatest heaven sect. However, it seems that there has been some turning point recently. Originally Senior Zhanxian had already seen that Yang Chen was hostile to Yang Zai of the greatest heaven sect before he joined the Pure Yang Palace, but he had never killed him. Although Senior Zhanxian didn't understand why this was, he didn't mind doing something to please Yang Chen. Senior Zhanxian arranged some killers to disperse Yang Zai's scared soul. Then, using his internal relations of the greatest heaven sect, he kept making things difficult for Yang Zai, causing Yang Zai to go through extraordinary hardships in the greatest heaven sect. Later Senior Zhanxian was promoted to the Daching stage, and his words were even more powerful. In order to please Senior Zhanxian, several guys in the greatest heaven sect who had already bought in, naturally put more effort on Yang Zai, making Yang Zai miserable. Over the past few decades, Yang Zai's life has been like hell, with no hope at all. Rebelling, he didn't even dare to think about it. Those who oppressed him had a much higher cultivation base and a much higher status. No matter what, he didn't have the capital to resist. Without resources, being bullied by the disciples around him, Yang Zai's cultivation level also stagnated, constantly being assigned the dirtiest, most tiring, hardest and most dangerous work, and he didn't even have time to cultivate. The sense of superiority that he felt when he joined the greatest heaven sect before, he didn't know where he left it. But recently, something indirectly related to Yang Zai happened. Suddenly all the people who were serving around the young sect master Li Lihing died. Under Li Lihing's own suggestion, Yang Lan, the younger sister of Yang Zai, who had been driven far away, returned to serve the young sect master. Back then, Yang Lan was driven away because the sect master thought that the people around the young sect master had improperly served, which caused the young sect master to become unconscious. At that time, he changed all the people who served the young sect master. Young Master Li Lihing's recent status was not what it used to be. He was bullied by a few masters in Medicinal Hall and he still dare not say anything. Now all the senior officials respected Li Lihing and truly regard Li Lihing as the young sect master of the greatest heaven sect. All the people around Li Lihing died and it was such a big deal to have the original people come back to take care of him even without the approval of the sect master. Naturally some elders helped the sect to organize this matter. Yang Lan naturally returned to Li Lihing's side. Li Lihing, who was proud of the spring breeze, finally enjoyed the feeling of being in power. Although it was not a real power, the elders who have real power also obeyed his words. As long as it was not too excessive, they would do whatever he commands. However, Li Lihing also knew that his strength was not in cultivation, but in his spiritual awareness, in the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method, so he did not relax in the cultivation of his spiritual awareness. But when it comes to a female's attractiveness, Li Lihing was not so cautious, and Yang Lan was already very beautiful. After being left out for years, she had not tasted the warmth of human relationships. In addition, his brother was also oppressed by others. With this opportunity, she did everything to please the young sect master. Soon, Li Lihing became very fond of Yang Lan, and other people naturally began to notice. As a result, Yang's Ai's spring finally came again. As the younger brother of the concubine, Yang's Ai's life was immediately much better. No matter what the Zhanxian said, he was also an outsider, not a disciple of the sect. People in the sect would still live in the main sect in the future, so it was natural to be in the red and white. In addition to being constantly threatened by outside assassins, Yang's Ai finally occupied a place in the sect again. As for those killers, as long as Yang's Ai doesn't leave the sect, who would dare to enter the greatest heaven sect to kill? This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yang's Ai was like a long drought who had caught the rain. His sharp teeth quickly won the favor of the young sect master, allowing him to follow along. And Yang Lan couldn't help getting some good things from Li Lihing's side to Yang's Ai. The cultivation base that had been stagnant began to gradually improve. In less than 5 years, he had reached the peak foundation stage and he was about to reach the Jitan stage. But Yang Chen's reputation at the moment has become even more resounding. The 5th rank alchemist, the Yuning stage master, and even the greatest heaven sect have to ask for alchemy from Yang Chen, which could be described as unlimited. As long as he heard the news of Yang Chen, Yang's Ai couldn't help but grit his teeth. Everyone also came from the Yang family village and in terms of time, he joined the sect earlier than Yang Chen. In terms of qualifications, he was better than Yang Chen. Regarding the sect, the greatest heaven sect was thousands of times better than the pure Yang Palace. Why was Yang Chen now famous and having a big reputation, but Yang's Ai himself has just recovered from procrastination? The soaring jealousy made Yang's Ai's entire face twisted when there was no one. He fell into the previous dilemma all because of Yang Chen, this damn fellow. If he agreed to join the greatest heaven sect, how could he be like this? He completely forgot that he had no intention of wanting Yang Chen to join the greatest heaven sect at that time, but instead intended to put Yang Chen to death. Yang's Ai wanted revenge. However, after decades of hardship, he finally understands one truth. It was not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. The most important thing now was to improve his cultivation base, not to trouble Yang Chen. Yang Chen was just as the sun was in the sky, and even the young sect master had to be careful about whether Yang Chen's pill has hands or feet, so this period of time, he could only hibernate and watch Yang Chen show his power. But Yang's Ai believed that one day, he would ask Yang Chen to kneel before him like a dog and beg him for his life. Yang Chen, who was concentrating on fusing the fire seeds, certainly would not have thought that Yang's Ai would have another day when the salted fish turned over. He had forgotten this guy a long time ago. Perhaps if he had the opportunity to meet again, Yang Chen wouldn't say too much nonsense and he would slay him cleanly and without leaving any future troubles. Anyway, Yang's Ai has been tortured enough over the years and it depends on Yang's Ai's own luck. The fire seeds of the 3rd grade and lower grade on hand were finally absorbed and merged into the yin-yang heaven burning fire. The 2 yin-yang fire dragons were born and moved like real dragons, their scales had already taken shape. Seeing that there was no 3rd grade fire seed, Yang Chen finally set his sights on the 4th grade fire seeds. The fusion and absorbing of 4th grade fire seeds, in theory, the yin-yang heaven burning fire, would have surpassed the 5th grade fire seed and was close to the 6th grade fire seed. Of course, this was just a theory. After all, no one in the memory of his previous lives had such a super powerful flame. Yang Chen could only cross the river by feeling the stones and experiment step by step. When Yang Chen was in the Jitan stage, he took the risk of absorbing the 5th grade true sun fire. Now Yang Chen was already a Yuning stage master, and coupled with his previous life's fire control techniques, he easily incorporated a 4th grade fire seed into the yin-yang heaven burning fire and slowly began to absorb and merge. When Yang Chen merged 2 4th grade fire seeds, the extreme north was already in sight. More than 100 years have passed, nothing has changed here, the same inaccessible, the same ice-bound. The layout of the place did not change in any way. Yang Chen easily entered the secret plane left by the predecessor of the Greatest Heaven sect and then entered the large array he arranged to collect the 4th fire true essence. As expected, Yang Chen already had half a bottle of the 4th fire true essence in the big jade bottle that Yang Chen had placed here. These were enough for Yang Chen to cultivate the 4th fire true secret art. There were already several kinds of original spiritual power on hand, but Yang Chen had not cultivated those original spiritual powers. It was left by Yang Chen deliberately to be used to break through the bottleneck. This bottle of 4th fire true essence was no exception, and Yang Chen carefully put the jade bottle away. After careful observation, he found that there was not much 4th fire true essence to collect. It seems that this secret plane has no meaning here, and it happened to be accepted by Yang Chen as a gift for his future apprentice Hua Menju. When collecting this secret plane, another secret plane came into Yang Chen's mind. When Yang Chen used the secret plane incident to frame the Greatest Heaven sect, he learned from the key of the Greatest Heaven sect. Like this secret plane, that one was also the secret plane left by the Greatest Heaven sect, but it hasn't been explored until now. After collecting Hua Menju this time, he would just go to search the secret plane. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 477. Your name is Hua Menju. A small black hole suddenly appeared on the snowy ice field and a figure slowly floated from the black hole and slowly fell on the white snow. The black hole that just appeared, in just a short time, a circle of thin white ice appeared. Then, the ice layer became thicker and more white snow accumulated on it. In just a few breaths, it had been restored to its original appearance and it could no longer be seen that a black hole had ever appeared there. The figure that appeared was naturally Yang Chen. At this moment, Yang Chen's hand was still holding a thing that looked like a courtyard shrunk countless times. From a closer look, pavilions, rockeries and water were all available inside, and even the water was still gurgling. This was the secret plane that the unknown senior of the Greatest Heaven sect left behind under the ice field. After Yang Chen collected all the 4th fire true essence, the whole secret plane was also put away. This was a gift Yang Chen intends to prepare for his next disciple. Hua Menju was not from a noble family, on the contrary, she was just a subordinate of a certain noble, and she was not the kind of maid who served the family by their side, but a flower farmer who takes care of a garden and grows flowers for the young lady. To put it bluntly, she was a female gardener. Moreover, she does not have the name Hua Menju yet, but was just a village girl named Hua Samei, who was the daughter of the slave of the Hua family. Samei Hua was very good at taking care of some flowers and plants, which also made her very appreciated by the family. However, appreciation was only appreciation, but there was not much to like. Samei Hua's face was corroded by some poisonous plant juice, she had potholes all over her face, in the eyes of others, were simply hideous. Such a woman who was also a slave, who would like her? Had it not been for the fact that Hua Samei was the only one who could take care of the rare flowers in the garden, she would have been rushed to work in the farmland. Not long ago, Samei Hua was like many young people with dreams of cultivating to become an immortal. She tried to go to the Immortal sect to try her luck, however, it was a pity that Hua Samei, who was just 19 years old, didn't show any innate aptitude, just like when Yang Chen went to the Greatest Heaven sect for the first time that year, she was sent back unceremoniously. The trouble was that Hua Samei went to the Immortal sect without permission from the master's house, she went there secretly. This has taken more than a month, and by the time she came back, sadly most of the rare flowers she was in charge of had already died. Then the poor Hua Samei was sturdily whipped and left half dead. If it were not for keeping her life for planting a few rare flowers, she might have been put to death as a fugitive slave. Even so, the subordinate sprinkled some healing medicine on the body indiscriminately and threw her into the garden. No one ever asked her anything. Hua Samei, who was covered with scars, was curled up in the broken little shed in the garden, and many of the wounds on her body had become very painful. The rain outside was getting heavier, but the heart of Hua Samei was getting colder and colder. With this honor of hers, coupled with the scars and pus all over her body, not even one of the slaves thought about approaching her to help her. In the past few days, Hua Samei have survived entirely by relying on some plants in the garden. No one cared about the life or death of an ugly woman who also wanted to cultivate to become an immortal, wasn't this the biggest joke in the world? Samei Hua's heart seemed to be desperate, the physical pain was nothing compared to the psychological pain caused by all the broken hopes. She was not reconciled, she wanted to enter the immortal sect to change her destiny, but even the only friends who were still talking to her laughed at her when she mentioned it, she could no longer bear this kind of blow. Her hopes were shattered, and the wounds on her body became more and more painful, and her consciousness became more and more blurred. Just when she was about to faint in her dimness, she suddenly saw a person who suddenly appeared in front of this broken shed. It was a strange-looking man, very young, with an indescribable temperament on his body, with a warm smile on his face, like an immortal. Do you want to cultivate to become an immortal? In confusion, Sima Hua heard the young man ask her such a sentence, and at the same time she was happy, she already had a kind of enlightenment that brought her back to light. Yes. With just such a word in her mouth, Sima Hua lost consciousness cleanly. The injuries on her body were too serious, and she realized that she was on the verge of life and death and could no longer support herself, so she fainted. The man who showed up was naturally Yang Chen. He remembered Hua Menju's life experience, a big figure that the immortal world would attach great importance to, and she never concealed her previous life, which also gave Yang Chen a chance to find her easily. It's not that Yang Chen didn't want to find Hua Menju earlier, it was because even if she was found in advance, it would be useless. Her innate spiritual root was not awakened, and she was still immortal, it was impossible to cultivate. Yang Chen clearly remembered that it was after this time that Hua Menju suffered such hardships, she survived by chance, and later cultivated a quiet dream grass that even a normal cultivator could not cultivate, so she was discovered by a female cultivator from the Green Jade Immortal Island. The female disciple of the Green Jade Immortal Island, who discovered her brought her to the Green Jade Immortal Island, so she was able to join the Green Jade Immortal Island. Of course, with Yang Chen now, the original disciple of the Green Jade Immortal Island, has also become a disciple that Yang Chen has long been fond of and has been included in the bag. When Hua Sime woke up, she suddenly found that her body didn't hurt at all, as if the injuries on her body were completely non-existent. She was shocked, she sat up suddenly and found that her clothes were intact, but the surroundings were no longer the dilapidated hut, but on the ground with all kinds of strange flowers and plants. Are you awake? Hua Sime could figure out where she was, a gentle voice rang in her ear, and then a figure appeared in front of her. Odd. What Hua Sime saw in front of her eyes was the young man before she fell into a coma, and also the man who asked her if she wanted to cultivate, Yang Chen. I'm not a god, I'm just a cultivator. Yang Chen smiled gently at Hua Sime, and then continued, you were injured very badly before, so I will treat you for a while, see if you still feel uncomfortable. Only now did Hua Sime realize that the scars on her body had disappeared without a trace. The skin on her body had returned to its original appearance, leaving no trace on her body. This magical change made Hua Sime unable to believe her eyes. When she put her hands on her face she shed tears of joy, she suddenly found that her face seemed to have changed. Sime Hua's face was burned by a poisonous plant sap when she was a child, so she was pitted and hideous. Many people did not even want to look at her face. But now when Hua Sime touched it, her face was smooth and she didn't have the rough feeling from before. Sime Hua couldn't believe what she touched with her hands, but she couldn't see it herself. She could only touch her hands on her face constantly, trying to verify whether her face had indeed changed. Yang Chen understood her current thoughts and directly took out a mirror and gave it to Hua Sime. Hua Sime took the mirror, took a quick look and suddenly saw her smooth skin and a face without any scars. To be honest, Sime Hua was not a very beautiful woman, not to mention the four women of Gao Yu, Gongsun Ling, Shai Shanshan and Sun Qingxu, even compared to ordinary female cultivators, she was nothing but modest. But for Hua Sime herself, this was an earth-shaking change, as it was the first time she saw her true face. Gently stroking her face that was once covered with scars, Sime Hua looked at the person in the mirror with her fingers slowly walking on the face in the mirror and couldn't help but shed tears. How many times she had fantasized about such a scene and it has finally become a reality. Yang Chen didn't interfere with the emotional outburst of Hua Sime at the moment but looked at her quietly. To be honest, the current Hua Sime has not yet awakened her innate spiritual roots, but she was not very far from that day. Hua Sime finally stopped crying and recovered her calm, carefully tidying up the clothes that were not neat. She knelt down at Yang Chen, thank you, my benefactor. Yang Chen didn't avoid Hua Sime's kneeling. All her injuries were cured by Yang Chen, including the scars on her face. It was all Yang Chen's credit and he deserves this thanks. Get up and talk. Yang Chen gently stretched out his hand and Hua Sime had already stood up involuntarily. This time, more and more, Hua Sime realized the young man in front of her, he must be those divine immortals flying into the sky in her mind. I implore divine immortal to take me in. Hua Sime was also an extremely smart woman, otherwise she would not be able to take care of the plant so well, so she immediately took the opportunity to ask Yang Chen to accept her. Do you want to cultivate to become an immortal? Yang Chen asked again. Yes. Hua Sime replied immediately, she would not change her answer. Actually, your spiritual roots for cultivating to become an immortal have not yet been awakened. Yang Chen sighed slightly and said, I want you to cultivate now, but it's a bit early. Sime Hua did not hear a direct refusal from Yang Chen's mouth, but said that the time had not come. Her intuition told her that this was a great opportunity. Hua Sime immediately pleaded again and again, I implore Divine Immortal to accept me, I implore Divine Immortal to accept me. If I accept you now, maybe you will miss your great opportunity in the future. Are you willing? Yang Chen lowered his head and looked at the kowtowing Hua Sime and asked. I don't know the great opportunity, I only know that you saved me and healed my injury. Hua Sime said, no matter what opportunities there are in the future, you are the opportunity in front of me. Maybe it's because of the previous life and death, Hua Sime has lost her hope for the future. For her, the most important thing was the present, not the great opportunity in the future. Would you like to accept me as your master? Yang Chen stood there quietly for a while before finally asking. Master, please accept Hua Sime's bow. Hua Sime didn't understand what Yang Chen meant, but she hurriedly bowed down to Yang Chen again, kowtowed heavily. Being able to be accepted by an immortal, Hua Sime couldn't believe everything she saw. As everyone knows, Yang Chen was even happier than her. Right now, Yang Chen told Hua Sime the name of himself and the Pure Yang Palace. This simple ceremony could be regarded as Yang Chen temporarily agreeing to Hua Sime and accepting her as a disciple. However, a more formal and solemn ceremony would be held after Hua Sime reached the foundation stage in the future. This was also explained to Hua Sime. Sister Hua naturally had no objection to Yang Chen's statement. It was the rule of all sects to formally apprentice after reaching the foundation stage, and it was impossible to break it for the sake of Hua Sime alone. Of course, Yang Chen was also very relieved that Hua Sime would be able to reach the foundation stage successfully. This pill, if you take it, you can awaken your spiritual roots as soon as possible. Yang Chen handed a pill into the hands of Hua Sime and told her. Hua Sime naturally understood Yang Chen's kindness, picked up the pill and swallowed it without hesitation, without the slightest precaution. If Yang Chen wanted to kill her or oppress her, there was no need for inferior methods, such as using a pill, there was really no need to harm her. The pill that Yang Chen gave to Hua Sime was the body refining pill he carefully refined on the road. Body refining pills could improve the physique of ordinary people and could also induce spiritual root awakening in advance. It was of little use for cultivators, but it was infinitely useful for mortals. Hua Sime's spiritual root was not awakened, so the body refining pill was just right for her. However, the body refining pill that Yang Chen gave was not an ordinary body refining pill, but a 5th grade body refining pill that was carefully refined by Yang Chen. After the 5th grade refining, even the most ordinary pill could become a top-level spirit pill. Although the body refining pill was not even ranked in the minds of the cultivators, the 5th grade refining pill was also a good thing for people to compete for. Before reaching the 7th grade, the body refining pill could not achieve the effect of reincarnation, but it was enough to completely induce the spiritual roots of Hua Sime. It was even possible that due to the efficacy of the medicinal pill, there would be better performances on the innate and acquired spiritual roots. The innate spiritual roots of Hua Menju in the previous life were similar to those of Yang Chen, but slightly lower than Yang Chen and had just reached 70, which also led to the fact that Hua Menju's cultivation level only reached the Golden Immortal and failed to become the Great Principle Golden Immortal. But this 5th grade body refining pill in this life, it might be able to slightly change some of the results of her previous life. As expected by Yang Chen, Hua Sime immediately fell asleep after taking the body refining pill. When she woke up after 10 days of sleep and when Yang Chen checked it again, Sime Hua had already awakened her innate spiritual roots. According to Yang Chen's calculations, it was about 74, which was the same as Yang Chen in his previous life and was about 4 points higher than her previous life. Don't underestimate these 4 points, they would be enough to make Hua Sime a Great Principle Golden Immortal. Of course, Hua Sime didn't even know that her destiny had changed drastically. Hua Sime, this name doesn't sound good, I'll change it for you as your master. Yang Chen smiled and said to the refreshed Hua Sime, from now on, you will be called Hua Menju. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 478. Blocking the Way to. Hua Menju was born with a tacit understanding with plants, so no matter how difficult it was to grow plants, she could grow it very well in her hands. When her spiritual root hadn't awakened, Hua Menju's ability was not obvious, but she could grow mortal plants, and at best, plants that seemed rare in the eyes of ordinary people, could be grown in her hand. But after her spiritual root awakened, it was completely different. The place where Hua Menju was now located was the first layer of Yang Chen's medicinal garden, which was basically where some 1,000-year-old elixir was planted. But Hua Menju already seemed to be able to communicate with these plants and seemed very cheerful. For a long time, no one around Hua Menju wanted to communicate with her, so Hua Menju also developed a slightly bored character that was not good at talking. But in the medicinal garden, even if there was only Hua Menju, accompanied by so many spiritual medicinal materials, she was very happy and didn't feel alone at all. Under the influence of Hua Menju, even Azhu and Abby, who were fully focused on fusing the wooden box medicine garden, discovered anomalies. It seems that the planted elixir in the first layer does not need to be influenced by them, and it could grow very well. This allowed them to also allocate more power to integrate the medicine garden spaces. And the magic of Hua Menju was that the elixir in this medicine garden has begun to nourish Hua Menju's body, even if she has not practiced any cultivation methods, but this pure wood attributed spirit power, it had spontaneously entered into her body. Planting elixir could automatically improve her cultivation, just as Senior Zhanxian could improve his realm through business. It was the most suitable path for her cultivation. Hua Menju has not yet cultivated any cultivation methods, but she has already shown such a great power. One could imagine what kind of magical elixir planter she would be after she specializes in wood attribute cultivation methods. Unfortunately, Yang Chen can't teach her proper cultivation methods now. Ever since she was a child, she just spent time in the garden. Where would Hua Menju have the opportunity to read? She has no foundation for anything. She could only be sent to the Yishu Manor in Puryang Palace to learn from scratch. However, Yang Chen had already prepared everything she needed, including the Kai-seeking pill for starters, appropriate wood attribute techniques, etc., and even the third-grade foundation establishing pills were already prepared, he was just waiting for the time to come to let her get started. Naturally, those medicinal gardens and secret plane were reserved for her, but it was not the time to hand them over to her at this time. Yang Chen was looking forward to the time when his female apprentice who could take good care of plants and his first apprentice Mu Bai cultivate together. What a complementary process it would be. After placing Hua Menju in the medicinal garden, Yang Chen embarked on the way back to the sect. This time, when he went back to explore the secret plane, he would naturally bring Gao Yu, Gongsun Ling, and of course, Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu were indispensable. Now that everyone was a family, the benefits must of course be considered. And there was one thing, the life source magic weapons of the Cold Plum Fairy and the Dancing Snow Fairy, Yang Chen had not yet begun to refine them. This has to wait until Xiao Yan wakes up. Without Xiao Yan's help to eliminate the refiner's aura, the effect would not be as good as letting the two women directly refine it. In any case, there were still many things to be busy with next. Moreover, Yang Chen knew very well that after the young sect master of the greatest heaven sect took the spirit congealing pills and was healed, he would never leave his confidant worry again and would definitely do it. Yang Chen was also ready, waiting for the day when he would trap the greatest heaven sect. Even if Yang Chen could still toss Li Lihing, but the greatest heaven sect would never tolerate his repeated extortion of the greatest heaven sect and there would only be one result left. On the way back to the Puryang Palace, Yang Chen didn't rush too quickly and was thinking about what kind of trap he should set for the greatest heaven sect. Suddenly, the shuttle stopped in the air, but the front end of the shuttle turned into 4 streams of light and the 4 streams of light flew forward at the speed of the shuttle just now. The flying shuttle disappeared in an instant and Yang Chen hovered abruptly in the air and a blood-red flying sword suddenly appeared in his hand. In the blink of an eye, Yang Chen's figure followed the 4 streams of light in front of him and rushed forward. Boom 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 boom, the 4 streams of light in front, after flying to a certain point, suddenly exploded in the empty place. With the violent explosion, a dozen embarrassed figures suddenly appeared in the empty sky. The bursts of thunder and lightning caused by the explosion forced more than a dozen people to be affected with the sudden thunder. Yang Chen's figure happened to be affected in this situation, the flying sword in his hand had already taken off and flew out. He snorted twice, the 2 guys closest to this side became corpses and fell from the air. The others were shocked, but they weren't particularly flustered, the lightning attack came and went quickly. Although the power was not small, it was not enough to cause fatal damage to them, the real enemy was Yang Chen. However, Yang Chen did not give them such an easy opportunity to counterattack. After a successful blow, a golden domed hall suddenly appeared, covering everyone in it from the air. 49 high-grade flying swords, under the control of Yang Chen, revealed their hideous features and began raging crazily in the space covered by the hall. Whoosh whoosh, the sound of the wind brought by the high-speed flying sword, carrying a scream like a ghost, wrapped the dozen figures in it. The dome hull will be given to Zhanxian in the future as an auxiliary material for refining her life source magic weapon. These secretly hidden guys don't even know the power of the 7-step soul-pursuing sword array and they were still trying to attack Yang Chen. With just a move of their feet, 49 flying swords immediately attacked them. Pulling up a familiarity with this sword formation, there was nobody in this mortal world more powerful than Yang Chen. While the group of people were being attacked by the flying swords, Yang Chen was not idle either, and the blue jade blood phantom flying sword also took care of the empty attack of the sword formation. Under the two-compartment attack, the dozens of guys who were already trapped in the formation only persisted for less than a few minutes, and they all fell under the sword formation. This group of people appeared very abrupt, and Yang Chen only discovered them within a distance of 100 meters. It was also fortunate that he had maintained his spiritual awareness around hundreds of meters. His spiritual awareness found these people in time, so he was able to stop them by himself and threw forth under pomegranates. There are more than a dozen masters in the Jitan stage and Yuning stage, which add up to a lot of power. But who these people were and why they were blocking him on his own path, Yang Chen has not yet figured it out. The only thing that was certain was that these guys had killing intent on their bodies, and they were deliberately hidden and unruly. Yang Chen would not be polite to such a person. It's not that Yang Chen has now become a cultivator who kills people without asking questions. But besides this group of people, there was a more daunting group hidden not far away. Which expert is here, please show yourself. Yang Chen bowed his hand in the void and shouted in a slightly deflected direction. Sure enough, I can't hide from you. A gentle voice suddenly pierced into Yang Chen's ears, and then three people appeared in the void out of thin air. The middle-aged man who spoke in the lead was in the late Yuning stage, had 5 long beards, a face with Chinese characters, and a rich godlike jade. At first glance, he looked like a big figure in a top position. The two around him were even more amazing, clearly they were two masters of the Daching stage. If it wasn't for them releasing a trace of their murderous aura, Yang Chen might have already taken action. At this moment, the three of them appeared, and they couldn't help but surprise Yang Chen. How was this possible? It seems that every individual could trace his whereabouts now. Old man Xiao Wengsuan greets Grandmaster Yang. The middle-aged man gave Yang Chen his greetings and said his identity first. This younger generation junior has seen Sect Master Xiao. The other party claimed to be Xiao Wengsuan, and Yang Chen was shocked. This was the name of the sect master of the 5-element sect. He also carried 2 Daching stage masters with him. It was estimated that besides the sect master Xiao, where would anyone dare to pretend to be him? Grandmaster Yang doesn't need to be courteous. Xiao Wengsuan waved his hand slightly, first pleaded guilty, and said it's reckless to come. It's impolite to hide. I also hope Grandmaster Yang won't mind. It must be no small matter to let the sect master of the 5-element sect go out and wait for him himself. Yang Chen could be sure of this, but how could he be so close to those guys who weren't on the stage? Yang Chen was always puzzled. Recently, this old man got a magic weapon to find out the location of Grandmaster Yang. As if seeing through Yang Chen's doubts, Xiao Wengsuan explained with a smile, and then a compass appeared in his hand. As soon as he saw this compass, Yang Chen knew that this was something that the Greatest Heaven sect had made. This was clearly the compass used by the Greatest Heaven sect to track the imprint of the spiritual awareness that Li Liheng left on his body. It's no wonder that the spiritual awareness imprint shook slightly before. Yang Chen thought it was Li Liheng trying to contact the non-existent predecessor, but unexpectedly, it was the compass that was playing tricks. This kind of compass has always been used internally by the Greatest Heaven sect. How could it fall into the hands of Sect Master Xiao? Yang Chen was very puzzled, but it was not the time for him to solve the puzzles. Sect Master Xiao came to meet him, absolutely not to explain it to him. Senior, please give instructions. Since the other party was blocking himself on the road, it was estimated that some things were not easy to refuse, so it was better to take the initiative. So Yang Chen immediately said to Xiao Wengsuan. Grandmaster, this old man just wants to verify a rumor. When Xiao Wengsuan saw that Yang Chen was acting this way, without much nonsense, he straightforwardly stated his purpose. This time, Yang Chen did not answer. Instead, he made a please gesture and signaled Xiao Wengsuan to continue. This old man also has a few friends in the Greatest Heaven sect. Xiao Wengsuan smiled, with no emotions on his face, and asked in a hurry. According to them, Grandmaster Yang once sold a few pill recipes to the Greatest Heaven sect. There is indeed such a thing. When Yang Chen heard that this was the case, he immediately understood. The opponent must have the idea of inquiring about the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill, and without waiting for the other party's follow-up question, Yang Chen directly replied, the spirit congealing pill. This is for their young sect master Li Liheng, to heal his spiritual awareness. The other is the questioning inner heart pill, and the medicinal pill used during ascending. Xiao Wengsuan and the 2 Daching stage elders were shocked by him, admitting that they had sold the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill in such a straightforward manner, so simple. The pill that was used during ascending. After the few people pondered it, they immediately understood that it was the heaven-seizing pill. They thought that Yang Chen would deny it in every possible way, but now that Yang Chen admitted it so happily, it made the three of them puzzled. It was better that Yang Chen admitted it, didn't they have this idea? The pill recipe of the questioning inner heart pill, Grandmaster, are you willing to sell it? Xiao Wengsuan asked in surprise on the spot. Not only Sect Master Xiao, but the two Daching stage masters around him all had the same surprised expressions. As long as the price is right, there is absolutely no problem. Yang Chen smiled and explained to Sect Master Xiao and the two Daching stage elders this junior said it from the beginning. The three of them were startled again. When did Yang Chen say this? Immediately, a Daching stage elder reacted quickly and immediately remembered from the incident of the heaven-seizing pill. At that time, Yang Chen took the pill that harmonized the inner core and sold it at the price. Everyone just took it for granted that the pill recipe of the questioning inner heart pill was precious and would definitely not be sold out, so they didn't think about it at all. Soon the three of them understood and looked at each other. When they were about to ask something, Yang Chen took the initiative to speak. If Senior wants to buy the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill, this Junior will utter a word. Yang Chen said seriously. I would like to hear the details. Sect Master Xiao immediately asked with his eyes wide open. It's about the questioning inner heart pill, even if Yang Chen talks nonsense, he would listen to it with all ears. In terms of cost for refining the pill, it is not worth a loss to buy a pill recipe. With a sigh, Yang Chen said helplessly it is better to buy a finished pill directly. Why is that? Sect Master Xiao asked in a puzzled manner. However, his attitude has always been good. Since Yang Chen didn't say not to sell, everything was easy to discuss. He would also like to know some reasons why Yang Chen said so. Without a 5th grade alchemy master, it's useless to hold a pill recipe. The other party was barely leaning toward the pure Yang Palace side, and there were reasons for opposing the Greatest Heaven sect. Yang Chen happily answered this question however, before when Hallmaster Mao bought the pill recipe, Junior did not say this to him. When Sect Master Xiao heard this, his face suddenly became a little unnatural. Yang Chen's words were equivalent to telling him that it was better not to buy. As for the Greatest Heaven sect, it was obvious that they had taken a lot of resources to buy a pill, but couldn't refine it. The 5-element sect surely had some internal connections in the Greatest Heaven sect, otherwise the news would not be detected. They were even able to vaguely inquire about the price from the Greatest Heaven sect. If it was really like what Yang Chen said, it was indeed better to buy the pills than the pill recipe. For a time, Sect Master Xiao also fell into contemplation. What Yang Chen meant was obviously to put the ugly words to the fore. If there was any unpleasantness in the future, he couldn't say that he wasn't warned. The question was, should the 5-element sect buy or not buy the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill? If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 479. Counterattack of Yang's Eye. Sect Master Xiao didn't think for too long, and soon he made up his mind. Sect Master Xiao believed Yang Chen's words, and he also firmly believed that Yang Chen must have not said similar words before selling the pill recipe to the Greatest Heaven sect. This point could be concluded from the Greatest Heaven sect's repeated actions against Yang Chen. Unless Yang Chen was a fool, he would not let go of the opportunity to cheat the Greatest Heaven sect so easily. But saying this to Sect Master Xiao and the two Daching elders meant that he did not think of them as his opponents like the Greatest Heaven sect, but as his allies. From this perspective alone, Xiao Zong mainly thanked Yang Chen. Even if the pill recipe was not sold at a high price, they would know the whole story clearly and would not pay dead money. Explaining in advance and discovering afterwards, there were two totally different feelings. One was to feel the other's kindness, the other was to be pitied. How can it be the same? However, after weighing and weighing, Sect Master Xiao decided to buy it. After all, having a pill recipe in hand does not hinder the continued purchase of the medicinal pill from Yang Chen, but there was another possibility. Even if there was no 5th grade alchemist in the sect, what if there would be one in the future? The big sect considers more about the direction of future development. Although the immediate interests were also valued, but they were not the focus of attention. Therefore, based on this consideration, Sovereign Xiao also decided to buy the pill recipe first. If you buy a pill recipe, you can also buy a medicinal pill, right? Although Yang Chen's attitude was certain, Sect Master Xiao still had to make sure. Of course. Yang Chen replied with a smile, and this younger generation promises it will never be the same as for certain sects. The price of the pill before the purchase of the pill recipe will be the same. From these words, Sect Master Xiao heard something again. It seemed that when he was dealing with certain sects, the strategy and attitude adopted by Yang Chen was completely different. He could conclude that if the Greatest Heaven sect wanted to ask for some medicinal pills, it would definitely not be the normal price quoted by Yang Chen. That was a saying that Yang Chen has already said very clearly. With the pill recipe, he would also ask Yang Chen to make the medicinal pill. If it was replaced by Sect Master Xiao, the price would be raised. If you have the ability, you won't need help, since you have to take the pill recipe, the price would naturally be much higher than normal. Sovereign Shao admired Yang Chen's attitude. The Five Element sect and the Greatest Heaven sect were not the kind of big sects that wear a pair of trousers. The previous Desolate Valley incident was equivalent to the Greatest Heaven sect slapping a few times on the face of the Five Element sect. Although the Greatest Heaven sect didn't reap any benefits at the time, the Five Element sect was still holding back its rage until now. Even if they didn't buy the pill recipe, they were happy to hear that the Greatest Heaven sect was deflated. What's more, Yang Chen still saved their faces like this, as long as they were willing, he would sell them the pill recipe. What is the price for the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill? Sect Master Shao finally asked the price of the pill recipe. The two Daching elders also looked at Yang Chen expectantly, waiting for his answer. The price offered by this younger generation junior to the Greatest Heaven sect is Yang Chen stretched out two fingers and put them in front of everyone 2 7th grade fire seeds. Hiss. There was a sound of the people breathing in the cold air. After hearing the price that Yang Chen said, even the Daching stage elders of the Five Element sect could not help but take a cold breath. Yang Chen really dared to ask for 2 7th grade fire seeds. What made Sect Master Shao and the others unexpected was that the Greatest Heaven sect actually agreed to this price. How could this be possible? Sect Master Shao's heart turned like a windmill. He kept pondering, he wanted to understand why the Greatest Heaven sect agreed to such a price. When he thought about it, it seemed that the only possibility was that reason. When Yang Chen just spoke, he had been paying attention to whether Yang Chen lied or not, it was easy to tell. Moreover, when trading in the future, Yang Chen could also make a hard oath. Thinking of that reason, Sect Master Shao couldn't help but feel tight. The Greatest Heaven sect was willing to spend such a large amount of resources, it seemed that only that reason could make sense, otherwise it can't be explained. Thinking of this, Sect Master Shao didn't think much anymore. After looking at each other with the two elders, they both saw the kind of affirmation in each other's eyes. Okay, let's just make the deal at this price. After reaching an agreement, Sect Master Shao finally made a decision. Of course Yang Chen was happy, as he could trade the same kind of pill recipe for a variety of 7th grade fire seeds. Where could he find such a good thing? If it weren't for the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect being the sects of high-owned wavies, and they had worked well with the Pure Yang Palace before, Yang Chen would want to get these two sects too. Of course, if one was willing to fight and the other was willing to endure, it was impossible to say who was pitted against. In Yang Chen's view, there was no alchemy master and only the pill recipe, which was not worthwhile. However, in the eyes of the Five Element sect, getting a pill recipe at a price was also a way to enhance the sect's heritage. Everyone gets what they want, and there was no question of pitfalls. Sect Master Shao and the two elders naturally wouldn't have the 7th grade fire seed with them, so the two parties agreed that in the Pure Yang Palace 3 months later, they would exchange the fire seed and pill recipe with the other. Everyone was happy. Standing in place, Sect Master Shao and the two elders watched Yang Chen leave. After a long time, Sect Master Shao asked without looking back, "You said, these people in ambush were arranged by Hu Qianyi from the Greatest Heaven sect. What did he want from Yang Chen? Logically, they have already bought the pill recipe of the questioning inner heart pill, so what exactly does Hu Qianyi want?" This question was worth thinking about. They couldn't understand it, if they thought of something deeper, maybe the three of them can't help but catch up and try to attack Yang Chen. However, neither Sect Master Shao nor the two Daching stage elders acted rashly. Hu Qianyi didn't get the slightest benefit as a Daching stage master, that was when Yang Chen was in the Jidan stage. Yang Chen was now in the Yuning stage, and if nothing else, the speed of the flying magic weapon alone was not something they could catch up with now. As long as they do, they might be the next Hu Qianyi. Not to mention his ruin, he was pushed out by the sect. How could Sect Master Shao not clearly see the mystery inside? And there was a very important point. Since they could exchange some external objects for what they want, why should everyone make the relationship so rigid? It was because of this fact that the Greatest Heaven sect hadn't seen through before, it caused a huge loss. Thinking about it, when the Greatest Heaven sect wanted to get the questioning inner heart pill in the future, they would definitely pay a price that would make their sect feel great pains. After staring at it for a long time, Sect Master Shao settled his mind and no longer considered so many minor details. He said to the two elders, let's go back to the sect. After finishing speaking, Sect Master Shao flew up first and the two elders followed and quickly disappeared in place. In the Greatest Heaven sect, Li Lihing was enjoying Yang Lan's service. During this period of time, the young sect master Li could be described as being proud of the spring breeze, and there was no better time than these days. Regardless of whether it was the sect master or the elders, whether it was the core or ordinary elders, they all respected him. The masters of the medicinal hall who dared to slap his face at him casually and took his things, when they now saw the young sect master, it gave him a refreshing mind. Yang Lan's service was very good, allowing the young sect master Li to fully enjoy the taste of being superior. Everything went smoothly in the sect and almost all the orders of the young sect master Li were regarded as golden rules. Lying on the knees of a drunk beauty, awakening the power of the world, was simply a true portrayal of the current young sect master Li. The prerequisite for enjoying all of this was that the young sect master Li only needed to take the spirit congealing pills on time and then concentrate on cultivating his unique spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. Of course, the young sect master Li knew the importance and he did not slacken his cultivation. In addition to rest and enjoyment every day, the ease of life and the more convincing life made young sect master Li's mood to swell up. Anyway, he didn't know anything else, he only knew one thing. As long as he devotes himself to cultivation, he could often contact that senior. He could make the greatest heaven sect to cover the whole sky. Incidentally, the young sect master Li now looked after Yang's eye a lot. This beautiful woman's brother seems to be a very knowledgeable and interesting person, with good words, he lets him do whatever he wants, and it was worthwhile to love Yang Lan. Recently, Yang's eye helped young sect master Li with an idea, which made him make a lot of resources for the sect. For this, the young sect master Li was very proud. Yang's eye's idea was to let the young sect master Li make a batch of compasses that could track Yang Chen's whereabouts and auction them everywhere in private. In Yang's eye's words, since the spirit congealing pills had been obtained, Yang Chen was useless. Using his whereabouts to exchange for a batch of spirit stones, this was absolutely a good deal and it could definitely make a fortune for the sect. The young sect master Li certainly knows the importance of Yang Chen, but what Yang's eye said was really reasonable. These pills were enough anyway, he also knows the attitude of the sect towards Yang Chen, he must be killed. So not taking advantage of the opportunity to make a fortune from Yang Chen at this time was really unreasonable. The fact was, as Yang's eye said, as soon as these compasses arrived on the black market, they were sold at an amazing price. Not only that, the compass was still in short supply. Young sect master Li almost immediately made another batch of compasses to earn more. It was Yang's eye who persuaded him that he couldn't feed these guys all at once, so that these guys were always hungry and he could earn more in the future. This was very reasonable. Although young sect master Li doesn't know what hunger marketing was, he also knows that too many shipments at once would definitely suppress the price. And once there are too many people looking for Yang Chen and they accidentally caught Yang Chen, wouldn't it be impossible to make money in the future? Yang Chen, this abominable fellow, thought he could use the spirit congealing pills to threaten the greatest heaven sect for decades. Little did he realize that he was just a tool for the young sect master Li to earn decades of spirit stones. As for why so many people wanted to find Yang Chen's whereabouts, it was too easy to guess. The only fifth grade alchemist in the mortal world, there must be many secrets items on him. Even Elder Hu Qianyi wanted a bite of the delicious food, how could other people avoid it? However, young sect master Li was not interested in the secrets of Yang Chen. As long as he could get in touch with that senior, the fifth grade alchemist would be a fart to him. No matter how big his secret was, how many secrets would there be in the spiritual world? Yang's eye was even more proud. The young sect master Li was so simple to be manipulated by him, it made him so happy that he didn't know how to describe it. Thinking that Yang Chen would face endless troubles after those compasses were made, Yang's eye's pride became even stronger. Yang Chen had to bear the hardships he had suffered before, including those days of fear, so as to eliminate Yang's eye's hatred. What about the fifth grade alchemist? Wouldn't he have to face the day of being hunted down every day? In a corner that young sect master Li couldn't see, Yang's eyes flashed countless times. After leaving the monster race territory and entering the Dao sect territory, Yang Chen was attacked 3 times. Every time, the other party seemed to have calculated the direction he was going to pass, waiting on the road with ease. Yang Chen's current whereabouts were easy to grasp, that was, they drew a straight line between the current position and the Pure Yang Palace, as long as it was on this line, he could basically be blocked. The Yuaning stage masters were the main players and he had not met a Dacheng stage master, but on the contrary, many Jitan stage masters joined in the fun. To these guys, Yang Chen was not too polite to them, no matter which sect they came from, as long as they had the intent to kill, he would kill them all. Under Yang Chen's sharp magic weapon and super fast speed, the guys in ambush didn't even have the chance to escape. After killing several groups of people, Yang Chen also realized that this was not the way to go. More and more people wanted to take action on him, obviously all for his pill recipe and medicinal pill. Although he had resolved Hu Qianyi by himself, he had left huge problems. It was estimated that all the cultivators were thinking about what Hu Qianyi wanted from Yang Chen. What was it that allowed the Dacheng stage master of the greatest heaven sect to risk their reputation? In the past, except for a few people in the Greatest Heaven sect and the Pure Yang Palace, few people knew that the Greatest Heaven sect purchased his pill recipes. But now it's different, even Sect Master Shao of the Five Element sect knows about this, so the major sects must have received the news. There was another important consideration when the news was spread at this time. Looking at the posture of the Five Element sect, it seems that they already know the dramatic changes that have taken place in Heavenly Court. The Greatest Heaven sect was able to allow a consciousness clone to descend into the lower realm, and the Five Element sect could also do it. In this way, the other sects also had news. The Profound Heaven sect was the only one ruling in the immortal realm, which gives several big sects a reason to unite against the Greatest Heaven sect. At this time, if Yang Chen didn't know to seize the opportunity, it wouldn't be Yang Chen. Soon, the young sect Master Li of the Greatest Heaven sect met the predecessor of the spiritual world again during a cultivation. The first thing the senior told young sect Master Li was that the Heavenly Court changed hands and the Profound Heaven sect master became the new Jade Emperor. Upon receiving this news, Sect Master Li and several core elders almost jumped up in surprise. What does it mean that the sect master of the Profound Heaven sect became the new Jade Emperor? It was simply to show nakedly that from this moment, whether it was the immortal world, the spiritual world, or the mortal world, it was all under the control of the Profound Heaven sect, and it was also the world of the Greatest Heaven sect. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 480. Trade. The last time they tried to have a consciousness clone to descend from the upper realm and failed, the Greatest Heaven sect suffered heavy losses, and many important news were not passed down. Now, the Greatest Heaven sect could finally receive news from the spiritual world directly through Li Liheng without setting up any formation. Although he passed through the spiritual world for a while, the difficulty of the immortal world consciousness clone coming to the lower realm to the mortal world was no less than dozens of times higher than the difficulty from the lower realm to the spiritual realm. After all, it was really difficult to cross two realms and come to a high position. But with such a transit, the communication channel from the immortal world to the mortal world will be much smoother at once. Not to mention that you don't need to spend thousands of years of the cultivation base of a Great Principle Golden Immortal every time, and the scope of conveying news was countless times larger. In the past, when the envoy of the immortal world came, 99% of the memory in it had been lost, leaving only a little bit of the most critical information, which made people feel regretful looking at a treasure mountain, but gaining nothing. Now they don't need to think about it at all. The news from the immortal world transmitted to the spiritual world was 100 times easier than the mortal world. As long as Li Liheng could maintain this state, what worries would the Greatest Heaven sect have? The immortal world has changed dynasties, and even the Jade Emperor was the sect master of the Profound Heaven sect, so how could the Greatest Heaven sect, which was the foundation of the Profound Heaven sect in the mortal world, stand still? The Greatest Heaven sect was busy celebrating and preparing for expansion, but Yang Chen has already returned to the Pure Yang Palace. From leaving to returning to the Pure Yang Palace, it basically took more than a year. Many people, including Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling, were surprised that Yang Chen brought back a female disciple who was not particularly outstanding. It must be known now that the Pure Yang Palace has a huge network in the mortal world. They were constantly looking for disciples with good qualifications in the mortal world. Generally, people with innate spiritual roots below 80 wouldn't be taken by them. If he wanted a good disciple, he could grab some with great qualifications from the Yishu manor. Now Yang Chen brought back a woman who was only 74, and she was appointed to be his own personal disciple in the future, so everyone was curious. Yang Chen didn't conceal from the people around him and directly stated the reason why he had accepted Hua Menju. Of course, it was not his past life memory that he knew, but that he accidentally came across a woman who was very good at planting spirit medicine, so he accepted her as a disciple. After seeing the potential that Hua Menju showed before she even cultivated, everyone was amazed. Of course, there were only a few people who knew Hua Menju's abilities. The master of the palace and the elders, plus Yang Chen, Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling, plus Yang Chen's great apprentice Mu Bai, no one else knew. Yang Chen was originally an alchemist and needed a lot of spirit medicine, and this female apprentice would be able to provide Yang Chen with a steady supply of spirit medicines in the future. From this point of view, it was not uncommon for Yang Chen to accept her as a disciple. What everyone marveled at was Yang Chen's eyesight and luck. Randomly encountering a woman who was oppressed, he could also pick up such an enviable apprentice. Even Mu Bai, the senior apprentice, after listening to Yang Chen's talk, went to Yixu Villa to stay with his junior sister after all. Of course, he didn't alarm anyone, but in Hua Menju's small courtyard, he went into the medicine garden that Yang Chen had prepared for Hua Menju long ago and turned it into a towering giant cypress, quietly cultivating. As Yang Chen said, Hua Menju was really suitable for cultivating with the wood-type monster race. In her own medicine garden, Hua Menju has planted many spirit medicine seeds that Yang Chen gave her. While taking care of these spirit medicines, it also seems to have a great effect on promoting the growth of the cypress. Some of the dark wounds that Mu Bai had accumulated over tens of thousands of years in the land of bitter cold also slowly healed with Hua Menju's ability. Hua Menju, with the medicinal energy of various spirit medicines and Mu Bai's backfeeding, her cultivation base was increasing day by day. The speed of her cultivation base growth was even comparable to that of Yang Chen. Now Mu Bai's cultivation base has reached the late middle Jidan stage. He had cultivated to the Jidan stage according to his instincts from the beginning, and then under the guidance of Yang Chen, he started systematic cultivation from the beginning to the present point. The first wood monster cultivators were all geniuses with long lives, and every one of them could be said to have accumulated a lot of experience. The old tree demon Gi Shanyu was like this, and the same was true for Mu Bai. The accumulation of tens of thousands of years in the early stage provided the foundation, and when it broke out in the later stage, the speed of cultivation was beyond the reach of Yang Chen. Mu Bai's grandfather, the patriarch of their cypress wood monsters, became the disciple of the old tree demon Gi Shanyu and has now been promoted to the Yuning stage earlier than Yang Chen's tribulation. As for Mu Bia himself, under Yang Chen's guidance, he would be closely focused on refining his own magic weapon with his tree heart for a long period of time. In this situation, being nourished by Hua Menju every day was also an alternative way of cultivation. This trip, if not counting a few minor troubles on the way home, could be said to be very smooth. He successfully obtained the fourth fire true essence and successfully found Hua Menju without making any major mistakes along the way. It was barely a perfect journey. After settling down Hua Menju, Yang Chen and the palace master talked about the attacks he encountered on the road. Of course, the most important thing was the appearance of the five-element sect master Xiao Wingxuan, including the agreement reached with the five-element sect. For the five-element sect who also wanted the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill, this was not surprising at all. What made everyone more angry was that the greatest heaven sect had sold a compass that could track Yang Chen's whereabouts. This was simply a naked provocation. Although Li Lihing made a few turns when he sold it, Yang Chen knew exactly that there was no one that could produce it other than the greatest heaven sect. Now everyone was a little worried about Yang Chen's safety. So many people could track Yang Chen's whereabouts unless Yang Chen stays in the sect, otherwise, as long as he goes out, he would definitely attract a large number of greedy guys. Since the greatest heaven sect and the five-element sect are going to buy the pill recipe, then we will simply sell them publicly. Yang Chen didn't mind very much and directly proposed a solution that could shift everyone's attention to other things for the time being. Regarding this, there was no objection in the sect. The pill recipe of the questioning inner heart pill was dispersed, which meant that Yang Chen's pressure was also dispersed. Those people paying attention to Yang Chen, isn't it because of the questioning inner heart pills? This was also a temporary solution to the immediate trouble. The Pure Yang Palace attached great importance to Yang Chen, so the news was spread in the fastest way. Among them, the Wine Immortal House played an important role. Not only that, but the Wine Immortal House also made a small profit with this news. Yang Chen was about to sell the pill recipe of the questioning inner heart pill. This news directly overshadowed all the news on the market and was placed in the top position by all the organizations that analyzed intelligence. Of course, the price cannot be released at will. Those who were interested could come to the Pure Yang Palace to find out. Suddenly, all the sects who received the news began to be tempted and countless people rushed towards the Pure Yang Palace madly. The efficacy of the questioning inner heart pill has been spread among the cultivators. Not to mention anything else, the fact that Daching stage masters have been continuously appearing in several major sects over the past few decades was enough to make people crazy. It used to be Yang Chen's unspoken secret and everyone couldn't get it even if they wanted it. Now Yang Chen actually wanted to sell the pill recipe of the questioning inner heart pill. This was simply like a treasure that fell from the sky. Although they don't need to ask to know that the pill would definitely have a sky-high price, they would get what they paid for, even if it costs a lot, it was worth it. So many people bought the compass that could locate Yang Chen's whereabouts, for what, was it not for the questioning inner heart pill? Now they don't have to risk being killed by Yang Chen, and they could exchange it with a few things, why not? Among other things, at least the people of the greatest heaven sect had already given up the idea of temporarily dealing with Yang Chen outside. Yang Chen's limelight was too strong, even if they asks for help from the five-element sect in the Qiankan Gate, they seems to have a different mind. Not to mention other masters, the reason why they haven't done anything before was that the timing was wrong. If they were given the right opportunity, they would definitely move against Yang Chen without hesitation. Among the major sects, the greatest heaven sect has already obtained the pill recipe and they were not stunned, their attention was still focused on the change of the heavenly court. Basically, they don't care much about this kind of minor situation. But other sects were different when they received the news. They all rushed to Puryang Palace at the fastest speed. However, they couldn't see Yang Chen even when they arrived at the Puryang Palace early because the time for Yang Chen to sell the pill recipe has not yet arrived. As a result, everyone could only wait. However, two sects directly sent representatives to directly contact Yang Chen. The two major sects of the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect directly sent Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu as representatives, and they sat right opposite Yang Chen. In this regard, others could only envy who made their sect not have a female apprentice to be Yang Chen's wife. Husband, is the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill really going to be sold? Sun Qingxu was more uncomfortable than Zhanxian. They came together, but it was Sun Qingxu who spoke first. Of course. Yang Chen didn't hide anything from his wife and directly recounted what had happened recently, including the contact with the five-element sect Xiao Wengxuan and the selling of the compass by the Greatest Heaven sect. After listening to Yang Chen, Zhanxian didn't say a word, but Yang Chen already saw a trace of anger in her eyes. The Greatest Heaven sect was simply deceiving people too much, targeting Yang Chen and his wives again and again. This account would be calculated sooner or later. It's too much. Sun Qingxu jumped straight up and shouted, the Greatest Heaven sect was so mean. Sun Qingxu hated that she couldn't rush to the Greatest Heaven sect immediately and kill those who perpetrated it. Selling the pill recipe for the questioning inner heart pill is also to disperse the pressure. Yang Chen said his purpose. Are you really selling? Zhanxian interjected with a rare word. Is the Green Jade Immortal Island interested in buying? Yang Chen nodded and asked back. Before Zhanxian could answer, he smiled and said, if the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect are interested, I will give it at half price. The Greatest Heaven sect and the Five Element sect paid the price of 2 7th grade fire seeds, you only need one. However, the external price is the same, and we have to say that. This was the face of Yang Chen's wife, which gave the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect great face. The two women also knew what was good or bad, and with Yang Chen's words, they were already enough to deal with the sect. Yang Chen's preferential treatment to their sect was a 7th grade fire seed. Even if it was not a fire attribute cultivator, they knew the preciousness of a 7th grade fire seed very well. As for what Yang Chen wanted them to keep secret, the two women naturally agreed. This kind of thing, who would mention it after getting it cheap? However, with a pill recipe, you may not necessarily be able to refine a pill. After Yang Chen gave the two women a reassurance, he immediately stated the strict conditions if you don't have a 5th grade alchemist, this pill recipe can only be placed in the sect warehouse, as a sect collection. The island master has already thought of this. After all, this is just an opportunity for the sect. Zhanxian said, directly giving Yang Chen a peace of mind. Since the Green Jade Immortal Island has such an attitude, Yang Chen felt a little relieved. At least this was not because he was sincere to cheat others. It was a great thing for Yang Chen to add several 7th grade fire seeds. The Blue Cloud sect basically had the same attitude, both sides expressed their sincere gratitude for Yang Chen's kindness. After selling to the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect, for the other sects, Yang Chen could sell to them at a high price without much consideration. Anyway, for these sects, except for the Greatest Heaven sect, the other sects who asked for alchemy from him were treated equally at the previous prices. As for the Greatest Heaven sect, it was still unknown whether it would reach him. During the next period of time, Yang Chen spent the time receiving representatives from various sects. Many people were dumbfounded when they heard the price of 2 7th grade fire seeds from Yang Chen. But there were also sects who were wealthy and don't mind agreeing directly. As one of the non-big sects, Qianqin sect, as expected by Yang Chen, readily agreed to this price and only waited for them to retrieve the fire seeds and then trade with Yang Chen. But there was a sect that was unexpected to Yang Chen as they graciously agreed to the price. This sect that surprised Yang Chen was the Pill Cauldron sect that has always been famous for refining pills. Yang Chen was not surprised to say that the Pill Cauldron sect was interested in this kind of pill recipe, but that the Pill Cauldron sect could also produce 2 7th grade fire seeds, which really surprised Yang Chen. Yang Chen had expected the alchemist master to be sought after, but the Pill Cauldron sect's rich net worth still made Yang Chen feel that he underestimated the importance of the alchemist masters. The price was clearly marked so no one was deceived. The price of the pill recipe has caused an uproar among countless people, and it has also made several major sects feel at ease. At least Yang Chen did not slaughter them individually in terms of price and treated them equally. At this time, even if Yang Chen treated the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect differently, others would not care. After all, apart from the two ladies, the Puryang Palace and the two major sects cooperated together. After a short period of 6 months, Yang Chen received 8 7th grade fire seeds and also traded out 5 pill recipes for the questioning inner heart pill. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more.